Okay, Rachel. How are we going to do it? How are we going
I don't know.
to start the end of the epicness here of Volume 5?
With another epic, maybe.
You call this one an epic?
I don't know. Just it's an adventure.
We're just not smart enough to figure this out. Because a good podcaster, a great podcaster, would be able to start this podcast in a cave with a box of scraps.
That was funny.
I'm Kevin.
Oh, and I'm Rachel.
There was another. You had another thought?
No, I thought you were going to say
like
something else.
I am Kevin.
And I'm Rachel.
This is Shelf Life, the podcast where brother and sister team go through all things pop culture one at a time to determine whether or not the subject at hand belongs on your shelf. Rachel, today is the day that we start a sub-journey on our lifetime of journeys through pop culture. This one happens to be either the nadir of all Western pop culture and movies, or the start of one of the biggest trends of all film and movies. At the end of our biggest volume yet, because this is the main event of Volume 5, a humble beginning of an independent studio.
There you go. That's true.
To the biggest worldwide phenomenon across movies ever. Back when this came out, it was considered to be nothing but nerd culture.
That's right.
Trash.
Endless trash?
Endless trash. Starring a character that most people had never heard of or thought might just be a robot. Rachel, what is up for contention to the shelf today?
We are going to be talking about the 2008 Iron Man.
That's right. We are beginning the MCU here on Shelf Life. We've gotten through some other superhero stuff. Superman, X-Men, others. We
did
comic
comic
books. Yeah.
Books.
This is not Iron Man's first appearance on Shelf Life. Iron Man appeared on Avengers Disassembled,
That's
Volume
correct.
3, Episode 9, or whatever episode that is.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the introduction of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is too many movies this point and television
Too
shows.
much.
But this is the Infinity Saga. This is the first one. This is where it births from. I think that there's probably quotes and memorableness and all of this stuff about how it was a risk, and maybe it'll make some money, maybe it won't, who knows. All of this stuff that came out about it. But this is the start of it, is Iron Man. John Favreau directed in 2008, of course starring Robert Downey Jr. Rachel, what is Iron Man about, and what is your history with Iron Man? Both the character and the movie. Let's do both.
Iron Man is about...
Iron Man.
Yeah, it's about Iron Man, the character Iron Man. That's it. That's all you need to know. It's about a person called Tony Stark. He is a playboy philanthropist isn't the word I want, right?
Yeah, genius, billionaire, playboy
philanthropist.
He's not much of a philanthropist
No.
in the start of this.
No,
though.
he's more of just, he owns a... What's the word I want?
Defense, munitions.
Munitions.
Defense,
munitions and
something,
defense,
yeah.
Company. And the whole idea is that he goes through a traumatic event, kind of forces him to rethink the world and wanting to actually help it more so than just kind of supplying it with more devastation. Is that fine? I don't feel like that wasn't a good description. I don't think that was a good description. I don't know how to describe this.
All right, this is the IMDb description. Do you want me to read you the IMDb description?
I just scrolled to it, and they do call him a philanthropist.
I've got, after being held captive in an Afghan cave, billionaire engineer Tony Stark creates a unique weaponized suit of armor to fight evil, which is what the movie is about. But yeah, I would say it's about a billionaire playboy who is very egocentric, goes through a traumatic experience, like you said, makes him reevaluate his life choices or just point of view, and wants to turn his engineering expertise into some sort of symbol of good and avenge the wrongdoings that he believes he has done in his
been
past
a part of. Absolutely.
Life. Yeah.
Yes.
That is the essence of Iron Man, and it is kind of the essence of Tony Stark, the character in the MCU, and how he evolves as well throughout the MCU. There are a lot of video essays about how Tony Stark, Iron Man, especially Iron Man and Captain America, because those are the main characters of the MCU,
right.
At least the Infinity Saga. It's why it's struggled at the time of this recording since Endgame, because there is no main character.
Right. We're starting at the beginning. We're not at the end. Let's go.
That's right. Yeah, we have like 30 of these things. Well, 23 to get through Infinity Saga. But I think you'll see as like the journey goes through with this character's arc is going from this very Randian, self-interested character hating peace. He hates peace.
Well, only because
he's a war monger.
I was going to say, it doesn't help
money.
him. Yeah.
And not having a sense of identity. His identity is through the way that the public perceives him versus how his self-perception and what his self-worth is. A lot of that goes on through the character arc. Intentionally or unintentionally by the producers, the writers, and Marvel and Disney. Especially when you contrast that with Captain America, which we'll get into. But now we've got Iron Man. Rachel, Iron Man. Did you see the movie when it came out?
Yes.
Or did you...
I remember seeing
what's your history with this?
I don't really... The problem is I don't remember. Like, I know we went to see it. I remember going to see it. I remember being excited about it because nerd. And I remember that I knew
Did you go with me and my friends?
I feel like I might have gone with you guys. It might have been... I think it was when we started to go, like, to movies like that.
All the time?
Yes.
Yeah. I couldn't remember.
I'm trying to remember if it was with you guys or if we went separate, but...
I can tell you my story of going to see this particular movie before we get into, like, our history of, like, what we knew about Iron Man probably before the movie came out. A long story that probably part of it can be cut. Our theater in our hometown was
yes, this is when we had to stand in line.
The good one.
This is great.
The good one was not built yet.
Yeah.
So we didn't go to a lot of movies in our hometown theater. We went to a couple towns over to like a theater that we thought was nicer. And we were told by our other friend that had saw the movie earlier, it was great. So we were like, oh, all right, well, we'll go see Iron Man. You kind of have to put this into context of 2008. Outside of Batman Begins, which wasn't this like huge, like, you know, overwhelming hit. The movies that were coming out that were superhero movies were garbage.
Yeah.
It was Fantastic Four. It was Spider-Man 3. It was X-Men The Last Stand. It was Ghost Rider. It was just trash. Endless trash, like you said. So you were not expecting Iron Man to be like, oh, it's great. You have to see it. So we went, and it was sold out. And we went after we had gotten back from college, and I can't remember when, you know, it can't come out like May 2nd, 2008. So it was probably like a week, the second week it was out, and it was still sold out when we went to go see it. So we went and saw it. So we were like, okay, well, we'll go see something because we drove all the way here. So we saw Forgetting Sarah Marshall on the list.
I didn't go that day. I can tell you that. I wasn't there with you guys because
No,
I did not see
not.
Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
But that's why I keep thinking, did then we go the next day, next week, something like that, just to our regular theater and saw it with you? Because I remember very distinctly you, me, and one of my friends went to go see X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Yes.
That was the first movie we saw at our new theater.
Yes, I remember that.
That is when we
started just going all the time, and then you guys would like come into the room and be like, we're going to the movies, and then I would just jump into the car and we would fly and go to the movies, and I always remember doing
in like
that.
5 minutes, and we'd be like, should we go?
You would just slam open my door and be like, we're going to the movies, and I'm like, okay, and then we just go.
Yeah, we did do that quite a bit in that like 3-year span or 2-year span.
It was fun.
What did you know about Iron Man before though?
Whenever I read in the comics, it had to have been just from comic reading. So probably just that he was like a scientist and he was like an engineer and stuff. Like there wasn't.
I can think of
I can't remember
two
the
sources.
Okay, go ahead.
And I want to say this came out before 2008.
Mm-hmm.
So one was, reading the comic books, but Tony Stark was different
Right.
prior to Robert Downey Jr. in the comic books. He wasn't as quippy and stuff like that. He was still the genius billionaire playboy philanthropist, just doesn't have a Robert Downey Jr. style.
Right.
This would have been us reading Civil War and House of M time.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's where I knew
Exactly.
Tony Stark from. I
Yes.
knew him as a more realistic billionaire where he's this fascistic, I'm going to put my stamp on everything. I'm going to run the world the way I view it character that he
Right.
was in the mid 2000s. The other one that I was thinking where I knew Iron Man from was Ultimate Alliance.
Yes, I was thinking of Ultimate Alliance, but I couldn't remember when that came out. When did we get that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Marvel Ultimate Alliance. 2006. That is what
Okay.
it's from. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it was Ultimate
Yeah.
Alliance too. Because I was like, I'm remembering Ultimate Alliance, and I would play as Tony Stark. I was like, I remember playing
You
as
would play
Iron
as
Man.
Tony Stark.
Because he was a
Yeah.
flying character. It was like fun. You could get the
Yep.
the shots down. I'm like, yeah, that was. And then they would do like the double teaming where you
The
could like
repulsor,
shoot at
we would
the shield.
shoot the shield.
Oh, it was
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah.
So I remember playing as Tony Stark, even as Iron Man in Ultimate Alliance.
That's where I can remember us gaining most of our knowledge about Iron
Absolutely.
Man. Is
Yes.
from Ultimate Alliance.
Yes.
I had not read a lot of Iron Man comics.
Mm-hmm.
It was more those event ones of like House of M and Civil War,
Where they all
and
came
those
together.
types at this point.
Yeah.
So he was a main character, but he wasn't like the only character
Yes.
in those books. That's all I had with this. I own the thing on 4K. Actually, this one's weird. I owned it on DVD. 'Cause That's right. I wanted
Love
to have it when I was in the dorms or at school.
Mm-hmm.
Bought it on Blu-ray. And then it was one of the... And I had that forever. And then it was recently, like, they started coming out with all the Disney ones on 4K.
Yeah.
But, like, the first one they came out with was Iron Man. And I was
course.
like, oh, well,
Yeah.
got to.
You can't say
So
no.
I also bought it on 4K. So I watched this one on my 4K. You don't know, because now you have the big picture. So now you can really determine whether or not it has shelf life.
Right.
As the start of the MCU, it was supposed to be a start of a series. This is one of those, just like a lot of the superhero stuff that we'll talk about, that it was just like in development forever. And it like, I feel like these superhero movies are just in development forever. They're always trying to figure out how to get these movies made.
Right.
It's like when nowadays, when like Blade can't come out, and it's like, that would have just been par for the course like 30 years ago. It
Yeah.
would have just been like, Blade's here now. Now Blade's here. This director's going to do Blade. Now
Yep.
this director's going to do Blade. I think that's just how all these superhero movies have worked historically. It was at one studio, then it goes to another, then this person was going to direct, and this person was going to direct, and this person was going to be Iron Man. And like all throughout the 90s, it just goes back and forth and back and forth. I think at one point Fox had it. Fox had the rights to Iron Man, and they were like, well, we've already got the X-Men, and we're like doing stuff with like other superheroes, so we don't really even want it anymore. And all of this stuff, it just gets passed around. This all stems from the fact that in the mid to late 90s, because of the collector's boom of the early 90s of comic books, which Rachel did a paper about in college.
I did.
That, or presentation.
That was fun. I was a full paper and presentation.
Yeah.
It was fun.
The bubble burst because everyone was collecting comic books. They were making way too many of them. They were making multiple cover copies and stuff. And they didn't understand the fact that collecting comics that were valuable were because they were rare, because the comics from the 30s and 40s were thrown away. The comics that they were collecting in the 90s weren't going to be worth anything because there were hundreds of thousands of them.
Yeah.
This caused Marvel to eventually go bankrupt, and they declare bankruptcy. To stave off bankruptcy and to try to make money off of these characters, because all Marvel really is IP. It's your characters. They sell off the rights to a bunch of their characters. They sold off the rights to Fantastic Four and Spider-Man and X-Men. They sold off the rights to Hulk.
Yes.
And Iron Man was at the rights to a studio. But eventually, Iron Man's rights get reverted back to Marvel in the early 2000s. So they have the rights to Iron Man. If you're Marvel and you're trying to figure out, can we make our own movies, you're looking at your pile of IP and your pile of characters, and you're going, our most popular characters, Spider-Man and the X-Men, to a lesser extent the Fantastic Four, are all gone.
Yes.
All we have
because they sold
are
them
the
off.
fucking Avengers. And no one likes the Avengers.
Which is so interesting, like, to think about.
Coincidentally, Rachel, we've talked about this in Avengers Assembled when we talked about the comic book, about how they were trying to reinvigorate the Avengers, and Brian Michael Bendis at the time was like, why are you not using the Avengers more? Like, this is your Trinity. DC has Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman. That's your Captain America, Iron Man, and Thor,
Right.
and you're treating them like the B-League. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
That's why it seems kind of crazy, because it's just like they don't know how to handle them. It's like they didn't know what to do with them. They had them. They have the characters, but like they're like, I don't know what to do with this, and then it fizzles.
And Iron Man in the comic books is going through a bit of a reformation as well, because the Extremis arc comes out in the comic books. They make him the main character for a lot of these mid-2000s books and storylines. He becomes the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. at one point, and so he becomes a bigger deal in the comic books. I think coincidentally, I don't think it was to align with the movie. I think it's just a happy accident that it's like his character is getting built up.
Does it seem like it was building up more in the comic first, and so they were like, you know what,
Yes.
we might as well let's just go with it. We'll go with what they're doing and play along.
So from what I gathered from like some of like the articles and stuff that you can find, they say that they went with Iron Man because it was one of the characters that had never been portrayed on screen before. Because like Captain
Also
America had
fair.
a few movies that came out.
Right.
Punisher had movies. Like
but they thought they
had
could play
movies
with
of
this.
these.
They were like, no, we can actually,
Yeah.
we'll take this and we'll make it, he's an interesting character, we can maybe make it kind of fun. It has to be what it was. Okay.
There is a guy, and I cannot remember his name now, and I probably should remember his name. His shtick here was he was working with Marvel. One thing to remember, it's all about the money.
Well, of course.
It's all about money.
Yeah.
All right.
Their
Anything
business.
creative that you enjoy, somebody was like, can I make money off of it? And that's the only reation the fucking thing got made. Unfortunately, that's just how the world works.
Well, the
Unless
person
you
who was
truly
making it very happy and creative and wanted to make something and was passionate about it, and then they found a place that was like, can I make money off of it? Cool. You can make it. We'll make money off of it. That's what it is.
Right, exactly. Yeah. I mean, there could be there's
the passion
there are
projects
examples out there,
but I'm just saying there's always the
Yeah.
business person behind it going, well, we're going to make money
Yeah.
off of this, and I'm going
Can
to
I
figure
make
out how
money?
to do it. Yes.
Marvel was primarily, and this executive like talked about it, was making money off of toys and licensing of their characters. So they weren't making money off of cartoons, TV shows, movies, and stuff. They were making money off the toys. And he wanted to like produce like more movies and stuff, but he was like, you take a gamble on one movie for $100 million and it makes money or it doesn't make money. You really make money in sequels because that's guaranteed.
Because they're going to come back.
They're coming back for a reason.
As long as the first one's good, though. You got to have that first one. It has to be good, and then they come
Yes.
back. Even if the sequel
so he-
sucks, they're going to come back.
He pitches to Marvel at the time. Ike Perlmutter, I can never say his name right, was in charge of Marvel. They had a board of directors. They had gone public to make their money back after the bankruptcy, and this guy, not a very nice man, but he built Marvel back up. This other executive pitched to the board, why don't you do your own movie? You can keep the budget the way that you would like. You would get all of the profit instead of splitting it with Fox and Universal or whoever else is making the movies. You just need to figure out what character to use. And again, they're like, well, all we've got are these fucking Avengers characters.
And what do they do? Nobody's interested in
So-
these guys.
They go to Merrill Lynch. They get a loan, a $525 million loan,
Okay.
with the characters as collateral.
Ooh, okay.
Now, you'll see this framed as Marvel could have lost the characters to Merrill Lynch. It's true they could have, but the clause was more like, if the first 4 Marvel movies fail,
Okay.
then the characters go to Merrill
So they
Lynch.
have
Well,
4
after
they had
2,
4.
you're going to be
They're,
like,
ready.
we're done.
If two failed, we're not trying again. That's it.
Yeah.
We're not
I think we're
striking
done.
out.
So the plan was that they were going to make multiple of these movies. I think that's pretty clear from the end of the movie. But they were building this universe. I've seen a lot of people blame Marvel for the state of movies and the state of like wanting to do these like big grand universes where movies are interconnected and stuff. It's a great idea,
Oh, it's
though.
so fun.
If you can pull it off, and you can do it well, and you
Right.
can have a vision in mind.
And also only do it once in a while. Let's not constantly do it.
Because it makes money, then everyone tried to copy it without understanding what the
premise and like how it functions.
how to do it well.
Yeah.
We'll get into the sequels where they overdo it versus like this, where it's like subtly building a world, and that's really how it should be. Every one of these movies should have their own identity, and then you can put stuff in the background, and you can subtly hint at all this stuff,
which was so much fun. I will say it was so much fun to do that with this whole arc and like epic and everything that they did here. It was like, because once you knew that they were all connected, you're kind of like looking for those little details, the little things, the something they say something, and you're like, ooh, I recognize that. And it was always so much fun finding that in each movie.
I think a lot of people want to blame Marvel for it, and you obviously can, but I think that they took some of the ideas too from Harry Potter. It's the same premise, right? We're going to make a bunch of movies in this storyline with the same characters.
Thing that's going on, right?
So it feels more like that one changed the world, and then Marvel kind of perfected it with their comic books, which you can do because they're like, we'll just make comic books and we'll just do the same thing, where it's like now it's a movie, but the same idea of like the characters have their own books and they all have different styles, and then they come together and this book has a style.
Mm-hmm.
They get John Favreau to direct. Kevin Feige is the producer. John Favreau was coming off of Zathura, an elf. He was not, as he even puts it, an action director, but he was excited to do something like that. There's a big documentary on the Blu-ray that gives you all the behind-the-scenes stuff from like beginning to end of it, and you can see the passion that they had and the creativity that they had for making this movie. I pause because it is now 18 years later at the time of this recording, and I don't know. I just don't know if that's the case still.
Like, do they still have as much passion and excitement behind the scenes?
I'll point out some of those things that they did, but they show you they were doing visuals on what the suit would look like. They were making plaster of the helmets with the Stan Winston's company. They were doing like the CGI of him flying and stuff as like test. They're just in this like office building on like with like Paramount, because Paramount said that they would distribute. It just seems like so different than what I assume it is now.
Sure.
Which is like somebody with a whip and like 30 people at a computer doing a bunch of visual effects, and
their
he just takes out the
bleeding.
Whip and just keeps whipping them to get the sequence done.
There's a giant head in like a TV screen in the middle.
It's just Stan Lee. It's a hologram of Stan Lee.
Keep
going, Marvelite.
Excelsior! Excelsior! Oh my god. So who is it? Captain America who runs in and whips his shield into the giant Stan Lee so that he frees all of the workers?
Yeah, that's right. Exactly, yes. You got it. Make that internet. That sounds
kind of fun. I like it.
They need to figure out who Iron Man is going to be. There's a couple of different people that they have in mind. Ultimately, they asked Robert Downey Jr. if he will do it. He gets $500,000 for it. I only say that because go look up how much he's getting to play Doctor Doom. So he wanted to do it, and he says in his interview, he's like, I'm 41 years old at the time of the interview that he had. He thought he had 6 to 7 years left to be able to do this kind of movie.
Wow. He was wrong.
Well, he does also say that he figures like after that CGI will just be able to take care of the rest. Like he's like, at that point they'll probably just be able to do CGI.
He's right, and it's sad.
Peter Billingsley also produces, so Ralphie is coming back to Volume 5 here, Rachel, because he's producing the movie. Woo! He says in the documentary that even though you could probably guess that people think, and they were saying this before the movie, or like while they're making it, they're like, people are going to think that like Robert jumped on board because he sees parallels to himself in the character. And he's like, well, that's not necessarily true. And it's like, nah, it's kind of true.
It's a little true.
Robert Downey Jr. was a drug addict who like went to jail for it and everything. Yeah. He had a Hollywood career.
Issues.
He was a Nepo baby. Mm-hmm. He had a Hollywood career. He became addicted to drugs. Like, there's that joke on The Simpsons where he got in like a shootout with the police and stuff. And I don't think he got in a shootout.
No, I don't think that happened.
But he did go to jail for it and cleaned up his act and was like on the comeback. And it's like, yeah, Tony Stark is kind of the character you have to play.
Right.
Rachel and I went at a Comic-Con. We saw Stan Lee talking, and somebody asked him, and I'm sure he gets the same 8 questions, but he was like 90 years old at the time, yes. So that's fine, because what else is he going to remember? And do you remember, Rachel, they asked him who was the best on-screen adaptation of one of the characters? And he was like, well, I mean, it has to be Robert. I don't think that you could say anything else. Robert Downey Jr. is Tony Stark. So
yeah,
he
they're
was
like one
very...
and the same. He saw the parallels.
Yeah,
but he doesn't want to say
well,
it. But he's like, no, but there is. Like, you truly are like encompassing this character at this point.
You see the two of them talk about each other somewhat in this, especially in like the Iron Man 2 stuff, like after the MCU like really started, and you can see that Robert Downey Jr. gives a lot of credit to Marvel for like believing in him. Mm-hmm. And you can see that with Stan Lee, too, where he's just like, they put my comic books on screen and got it all right. Oh, my God. You know, that kind of, because he's a big ham and a fucking shyster and stuff anyway. Yeah. They were going to do the Mandarin as the villain, because the Mandarin is one of Tony's main villains. But then they were like, you kind of have to wait to do magic stuff like later on in the series.
That's true. They did wait on magic. Grounded. It's like how they waited on going into space as well. It was like, let's kind of hold off a little bit. You know, we can't have talking animals yet.
Now, they say that there was one thing behind the scenes where they were talking about building up Crimson Dynamo. Stan Winston's company was building a Crimson Dynamo. So it's like maybe they were planning to do other stuff. I don't know. John Favreau talks about how they hope that it can be a series of films a bunch of times in it. So at the end, he's like, maybe it'll make money. I don't know.
Oh, wow.
So
the high hopes and the realism of like, maybe it'll fail. So I can't be too excited.
There's a part in it where Gwyneth Paltrow says Robert Downey Jr. called her and was like, you know, you do all of these little movies. Don't you want to be in something that people are going to watch? Like just once.
Wow.
Well, because he was the same way.
Sure.
He was doing his, like, little shit.
So he's like, come join Rachel... me. This would be fun. We could do it together.
Yeah. Get all this stuff on board. You know, Terrence Howard, Jeff Bridges comes on board. I think Peter Billingsley helped to get him cast, stuff like that. On-site locations that they're going to. They build the cave, the concert hall. That's the Disney concert hall. I thought that was slightly ironic because the deal was not a thing when they were filming this. One of the things that they think is interesting, and part of that documentary is talking about the history of Iron Man. And Stan Lee brings up the fact that I made Iron Man because it was the 60s and people hated, you know, the military-industrial complex. And we had so many readers that were in college that I thought I wanted to make a character that they would absolutely hate and see if I could make a character that they should hate, but then they end up loving him.
But you end up loving him.
So that was his point of making Tony Stark and making him
because most of the time I probably wouldn't like warmongering philanthropist playboys. That just sounds gross.
But he is a villain at the start of this. Yeah. He is a bad person.
Right.
He's a bad man.
Yeah.
He talks about how I based him off of Howard Hughes without the craziness. Is how he phrases it. And it makes sense. Howard Hughes, for those that don't know the history of Howard Hughes, we'll do The Aviator one day, Rachel. What the hell? Throw it on the list.
All
it's
right.
Fine.
I'm writing it down.
She's literally writing it down. He was a crazy man, but he was like a businessman. He was a Tony Starkish type of person. He was like a test pilot. He wanted to make the Spruce Moose.
Yeah.
The Spruce Goose. I said the Spruce Moose because that's how Rachel will understand the reference. But the Spruce Goose, he wanted to make this giant plane that would be like a hotel in the air or a casino in the air. They actually filmed in the hangar that the Spruce Goose was built
Okay.
for Iron Man, so that was like inspirational. And in that one scene of the garage, I noticed there's like a bunch of planes that Tony has, like model planes in the background, and I was like, that's got to be the Howard Hughes influence.
It would make
so
sense.
if you hear anybody say that Tony Stark is based off of anyone else, he's not based off of somebody that thinks he's the modern day Tony Stark. He's not. He's based on Howard Hughes. So that's really what they're basing him on. In the comics, he was, a bit of a womanizer and an alcoholic. Yeah. In fact, Stan Lee says he always got so much fan mail from women for Tony Stark. Always addressed to Tony Stark was from women.
Yeah. Women always look at it's hard to not look at the bad boy and then just be like, well, maybe.
Yeah, that's what he said too, in his like 90-year-old man way of saying it. So they're able to pull this off. Actually go right up to the last minute with some of this stuff. They even show it in the documentary. I really wish they would do documentaries like this, and maybe they do, and I just haven't watched them all on the Blu-rays and shit that I own. They had Iron Monger and Iron Man fighting at the end, and needed to do some rewrites because they thought that the ending was kind of flat. So they like had to redo that a little bit. But it's like it was crazy, Rachel, to see, because like they had it like you would have it like an office project. It was just like, here's the project plan, and like here's how many days we have, and they release it. I mean, it's not I would call it independent, because like they did do it. I mean, Paramount distributed it for them. But they release it. It earns $319 million in the U.S., $585 million worldwide. It was the 11th biggest opening weekend of all time. It got surpassed by The Dark Knight like 2 months later.
Of course. But that was a sequel.
That was a sequel, exactly.
See?
Comes out to rave reviews, really great reviews. I can remember distinctly. It's probably still on YouTube. There's this somebody like compiled it all together of Ebert and Roper talking about the superhero movies in 2008, because it goes Iron Man, then it goes Incredible Hulk, and then it goes Dark Knight.
Oh my god!
Because they're like, those were the 3 superhero movies to do that. Like
that's crazy.
This is 2008 is the start of nope, we're taking this shit seriously.
I love it.
We're actually going to do these characters justice. And it was called the best superhero summer because of Iron Man and the Incredible Hulk.
Yes.
So the movie comes out, it does great, and it kicks off an endless stream of gluttony of superhero movies.
Gluttony.
Of not just Marvel, of DC, of Marvel, of indie superhero movies.
Yes.
Of superhero adjacent shit like Transformers.
Yes.
And Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And anything else that they can think that they can make a franchise off of.
Type of stuff.
Yeah. Anything we can make a franchise off of.
Yeah.
A couple years ago, Rachel, because I said every single movie that we're covering is in the Library of Congress in Volume 5, it's on the Library of Congress's shelf. So is Iron Man. In 2022, they put Iron Man on the Library of Congress shelf, so it's got shelf life to them. But all of this stuff doesn't really matter. That's not the question. That's not what we're trying to answer. We're not trying to answer, did this start the downfall of society? Is it just the next evolution? Is it just a really good story? Is it just Universal Monsters universe done 100 years later? None of that matters. The only thing that matters is the basic fundamental question that we answer on this show after 3.5 hours of by God walk through every single episode. And that is, does Iron Man have shelf life? After the break, a word from our fake sponsor, and we will dive into Iron Man.
At Stark Industries, we believe in pushing the boundaries of innovation, mostly because Tony Stark got bored. Need a missile that can cook a steak while leveling a mountain? We've got you. An AI assistant that probably won't turn against you? Working on it. Clean energy? That's coming soon. Whether you're a billionaire, a superhero, or just some guy who clicked accept on our totally safe technology, Stark Industries is here for you. Need a suit of armor? Sorry, those are exclusively for Mr. Stark, and sometimes his friends. Want repulsor tech in your car? That's a hard no. Looking for an AI with zero existential crises? Well, we're still beta testing that.
Stark Industries is not responsible for any unintended explosions, AI uprisings, or spontaneous Iron Man knockoff attempts. Side effects may include enhanced ego, sudden appearances, and unsolicited calls from S.H.I.E.L.D.
Stark Industries, because who needs regulations when you have genius?
And we are back with the finale of Volume 5 here at Shelf Life. It is Iron Man from 2008, the beginning of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, if you don't count all of that multiverse stuff that would technically retcon a bunch of other movies into it. But for now, this is the Marvel Cinematic Universe beginning with Iron Man. Rachel, are you prepared to change cinema forever with the walkthrough of Iron Man?
Change cinema?
Yeah, that's right.
We're changing cinema by walking through it?
Yes. Yes, we are. We are Shelf Life.
All right.
I meant like the
Then
movie,
yes.
the movie changed cinema. Whatever. So after countless attempts at doing Iron Man, Nicolas Cage and Tom Cruise, Rossio and Elliott wrote a script. There were a ton of different directors on board.
Nicolas Cage
The
would
rights
be
went-
awful.
He would have been terrible. Tom Cruise could have done it in the
awful.
90s. Nicolas Cage would have been
Maybe.
terrible.
It would have been
I'm
so...
Iron Man. It would have been terrible. I think Nicolas Cage has been attached to every superhero.
Just every single superhero.
Well, now I'm Thor.
Did he
Now
just
I'm
try to be
Wonder
everything?
Woman.
That's-
Well, because he
I
loves
could see
comic
it.
books.
Oh, so he just really wanted to be one, but he's just awful, so it just
His
wouldn't
name,
work for
he's
anything.
literally, his stage name is literally, he's named himself after Luke Cage.
Oh.
That's where the Cage comes from. He's
God,
a Coppola.
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, I kind of wish I could find him a character that would actually work for him.
He did. Spider-Man Noir. He's a voice acting.
Yes.
And he's good as Big Daddy and Kick-Ass.
That's also true.
so-
Okay, he is a nerd. Okay.
But
I just realized
Tom
that.
Cruise,
No.
Tom Cruise could have done it in the 90s.
I don't know.
know if the movie
I feel
would
like
have
it
been
would
any
have been
good.
bad. I feel like him.
It would have been a bad movie.
Yeah.
Robert Downey Jr. was the perfect Tony Stark. He belonged as Tony Stark. The question just was, how is this going to play out now that Marvel is doing their own thing? As Jeff Bridges said, it's virtually an independent film. The script would change constantly. They were just coming up with what to say.
Mm-hmm.
It comes together here, Rachel, and changes cinema forever.
Ah.
There are no longer movies, only thrill rides with the Marvel movies.
That's right. That's right.
Rachel, are you prepared to dive right into the walkthrough of Iron Man?
I am thoroughly prepared.
All right, here we go. The movie begins with the Paramount logo because they helped distribute it, so you don't have to see the Disney logo. Do they ever put the
That's
Disney logo?
true.
Do they ever put the Disney logo on the movies? I don't think
For
they do. I
this
think
one?
they just on any of them. I think they just do Marvel
I don't think
Studios.
the Disney is with any of them. It's just
Yeah.
Marvel.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Paramount shoved their logo on first, so they were like, "We're putting the logo on."
We
And
want
then-
our name on this movie. Thank you.
I still prefer this over the fanfare music, and I like both Brian Tyler and Michael Giacchino's fanfare of Marvel Studios, even though it's self-aggrandizing and pompous as hell. The
Oh yeah, the
of
flipping
the
of
comic
the
book pages being flipped,
yes.
classic. So much cooler, in my opinion.
Yes. Right.
We open in an Afghanistan desert. There's mountains in the background and an army caravan. I can't remember where they said they actually were. It's like somewhere in
I don't
the
remember if you
Southwest.
mentioned. Yeah.
They said it on like a Blu-ray somewhere. Back in Black starts playing as they ride through. Dun, dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun. Because Tony, of course, loves AC/DC, which makes sense.
It works. Yeah, I think it works for the character.
We find out that the music was diegetic. It was coming there's this like caravan of Humvees going down a road. We go into one of the Humvees. That's where we learn that the music is diegetic. It was coming from like a boombox that was
Right.
in the Funvee. Because Tony's in the Humvee. First of all, Rachel, because I'm
And
just
it's quiet because
I'm
none of
used
them
to-
want to talk.
I'm used to all of the later movies. Tony Stark. He looks so scummy in the
He
first
does look.
third of
he
this
looks
movie.
greasy and scummy. Yes. Yes. It's
It's-
true.
it's
It's,
a-
weird how that actually changes too. It's such like a minor change, but it does change.
He looks so much scummier. I don't know if you want to describe it, but to me, like the goatee is sharper. The hair is like
It
more
is
slicked
sharper.
back. He's got
It's
these
that,
the
yes, it's got
douchebag
the
sunglasses.
greasy, slick back. Yes, and it's the way he's holding himself. I think, especially. that definitely brings that on of him just being kind of a scumbag. Yeah.
But I mean, I
can
think
say
that
scumbag, right? That's fine.
yeah, he's a scumbag. Yeah, Tony Stark kind of a scumbag. Drink a something in his hand, scotch or who knows.
I would assume it's scotch. Yeah.
Like you said, none of them want to talk. They're all afraid to talk to him because this is like the richest man in the world, and he actually is a genius. So he's intimidating. You know, is anybody going to talk to me, or are we all just going to like sit here in silence? Because we learn later that he didn't want to sit with Rhodey. He wanted to like not deal with Rhodey.
Well, I think it was just he was making him sit in the other one just to punish him, quote unquote. Like I think he was just making a joke type of thing.
Yeah, the person that's driving it is a female
military personnel.
I think I think they're Air Force because Rhodey's Air Force, but I don't know.
Oh yeah, that's probably what it is then. They're probably Air Force.
But whoever it is, it's some sort of military. Yeah, but she's driving. Yeah,
and she opens her mouth and he goes, "Good God, you're a woman."
Yes, yeah.
It's kind of funny.
It's funny. I mean, like, I wonder if you could do that today to, like, have your main character say that. But, like, he even, like...
I don't know, I like it.
He even gets them with the jokes there where he's just like, I mean, I couldn't tell, but isn't that what we're going for? Like, you're all just a bunch of, like, the same.
You're all the same.
and then he goes, like, I'd apologize, but you have excellent bone structure. I'm having a hard time not looking at you. Is that weird?
And then she's laughing. Yeah,
they're all laughing.
So they're all laughing.
Yeah, so
he's very charismatic, very charming.
Yes, very charming.
It oozes.
Yes. It's instant. You just understand what this man is. It loosened up all of the military guys. The one guy asked him if he went 12 for 12 with last year's Maxim cover models. For the young ones, Maxim was a magazine that wasn't quite Playboy. It would just get people that would, like, be in bikinis. Like, that was Maxim.
It was like a pinup. It was more of a pinup girl. Versus
I
like
suppose. I mean, like I remember do you remember the Maxim Hot 100, Rachel?
No,
I did.
I don't really remember anything about Maxim. You're
teenage
a dude,
boy
so
in
it would make
mid-aughts,
sense. I have zero interest in it.
Yeah,
you're making it sound more like a pinup girl, where it's like she's like sexual, like being sexualized. But she's not like naked.
No, they weren't naked.
It's not
they
just
were, like,
porn. It's not just straight porn.
And then they would have their yearly. I guarantee you, if I don't have it, one of my friends does. We would get the Hot 100 issue, and you'd go through their countdown of the top 100 hottest. So anyway, they ask if he could take a picture with him, and he says yes. That would be very cool.
He raises his hand. I think that was kind of funny because he was just like, you don't have to raise your hand. Because he's like, can I talk? And it's like, just talk, dude. But yeah, so he tries to take a picture with him.
I think it's also important, especially for young people, to remember that this was 2008. So, like, Afghanistan war had been going on for 7 years, and America was just entrenched in this stupid war.
Right.
This was a familiar scene for people. A lot of all this Afghanistan stuff would have been common in pop culture at the time. It works. It worked out for Marvel, right? Because Stan Lee had Tony Stark in a cave in Vietnam, and then they changed it to Afghanistan in the 80s, and then they didn't have to do anything for like 40 fucking years.
No, it's just like, all right, cool, that's fine.
He throws up the peace sign, and Tony goes, "No gang signs, please." And he goes, No, go ahead, throw it up. Yeah, peace. Peace, I love peace. I'd be out of a job with peace. Inferring that he hates peace, that war, of course, keeps him going.
Keeps him going, because that's where he makes his money.
Where his
family made its money.
Right. As they go to take the picture, the Humvee in front blows up, and they end up in the middle of an ambush. They all get blown away. Stark doesn't know what to do as, like, his, protectors are getting shot up.
Because, he's never in the trenches. This isn't his.
Yeah. He doesn't have
deal.
to
He's
see
behind
this.
Right.
It's
behind the curtain.
It's not exactly in the same vein of, like, pointing the camera at you and being like, look at what you're supporting, like, look at all of your men and women being killed, but in a way, like, he is directly responsible for this kind of stuff because he escalates the wars by providing the weapons for the wars.
Right.
He exits the Humvee. He tries to run, even though they tell him to, like, stay in the Humvee. I don't think either way he would have been okay. Like, they clearly were ambushed and, like, not going to be able to...
Yeah. If they were able to, like, keep driving, maybe? But I don't know if, like, there were holes or if, like, something happened to her
I guess
they
they blew up the one in front of them.
Yeah.
So, like, it might have been blocked.
So to, like, stop the whole thing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Now... when you do find out that Rhodey is in the Humvee behind them, you're kind of like, what happened to them? Like,
Probably...
did they have to...
Oh, yeah, that's true.
You know? There is a deleted scene, which I don't like, but it doesn't really explain what happened to Rhodey in that either. And I don't like. I'm glad that this was deleted, because in the deleted scene, Tony gets out. He picks up one of the soldiers' guns and starts shooting back, and then shouts for Rhodey. And Rhodey's like, "Stay down, get behind something." And that's when Tony goes and runs behind a rock. And I was like, it makes Tony too active in this. He should be.
He wouldn't have been as like.
He should be frightened for his life. Something. Yeah,
exactly.
So I'm glad that they cut that out. But at the same time, like, if you think about it for a second, you're like, what did happen to Rhodey? It's almost like you have to pretend like he wasn't there, that it was just like, but they rolled up and found it or something like that.
Yeah, it seems difficult. I guess maybe if they got pushed back and he didn't know where Tony went and they were going the opposite way, is the only
I don't
thing
know, because like, how did the 10 rings get him out of, like, how did they kidnap him without killing?
That's what I mean. Like, maybe they were pushing back the military guys, but that is kind of a... Yeah, that feels like a mistake, a little bit of a goof.
You overlook it, and unless you're us,
yes.
like, truly thinking through it now, like, you don't worry about that when you're watching the movie at all.
No.
You just think they got ambushed, they retreated, or they got separated, or they dragged him away and got the hell out of there before the military could figure out what was happening. Who knows? He dives behind a rock and he tries to text someone. He pulls out his... state-of-the-art 2008 phone.
Oh, it's like the goofiest thing. The screen like flips and it's so goofy.
You said you had that phone, I'm pretty sure.
Not this phone.
Oh, no. Not this one? Because this is some Stark phone.
This was more fancy. This was the fancier phone. I had one that was like...
The one that like Rhodey has.
It's like you push the screen up and it has the keyboard underneath it to type. Yeah. And then you could like slide it back down, and it was just like the normal phone. So it looked like a smartphone, but then you could push it, and there was a keyboard to type.
That's right. You need that keyboard. That's right. He's typing on a keyboard, and it's making this like little dee.
Yeah, because this is like a BlackBerry.
Yeah, it's almost a BlackBerry.
Maybe he was trying to get Rhodey, or maybe even Jarvis or something.
Triangulate,
give notice,
whatever. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A bomb falls next to him, and it has Stark Industries on it, and it blows up. And it shoots him back, and the shrapnel is actually what takes him out. And he had a vest on, but the shrapnel...
But he's still bleeding
went through the vest, so his chest is all bloody.
Yep.
And a very familiar scene to people that were alive in 2008. Terrorist video. So this was a thing for a while. Yeah. I'm sure one day maybe it will be again, just depending on what shenanigans
it depends on what
the world
happens
gets into.
Oh, absolutely. I feel like that's just kind of a common trope.
Yeah.
Really.
At this point, it was a familiar scene where it's all of these terrorists, these Middle Eastern terrorists surrounding him. You see the symbol of the 10 rings in the back. So they're doing a speech with him, like, just sitting there in the chair. So you're presuming
we don't know what
that
they're saying.
Yeah, and you can't tell what they're saying. They're speaking a foreign language. And you just assume that they're telling, that they're sending it out on the internet or something so that people know that Tony Stark has been
some sort
kidnapped.
of kidnapping plot.
And then that cuts right into Iron Man. I even like the way that they do the ding, and it like shows Iron Man in like the very, irony looking letters.
Yeah, like that goldy color.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the documentary was even showing the team that worked on that. They did like a million different, they showed a bunch of the different variations that they had.
Because they're like, do we want it fancy? Should it be simple?
Yeah.
What should it look like?
I don't always have time to go through that stuff, but it is fun if they put that stuff on. And that's why Blu-rays and 4Ks are important, because they don't do that with streaming services. Like getting that stuff on your Blu-rays and 4Ks is kind of fun to see.
Yeah. I always like getting to see the background because I like the art part of it.
It's the creative process
so
of like what works here, what doesn't work. It then goes to 36 hours earlier. We are in Vegas, and we get some exposition about Tony. We learn that he was the son of Howard Stark, military industrialist, graduates from MIT early, and then Howard dies in a car crash. And Tony ends up taking over as CEO when he comes of age, basically.
Yes.
I think it takes a few years for like the board to make him CEO because Obadiah Stane is the CEO,
he takes
like
over
interim. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But Obadiah Stane being played by Jeff Bridges. Back in the day, I remember watching the riff tracks of Iron Man, and when they say Obadiah Stane, all three of them laugh, and they're like, "Could you come up. Why don't you just call him Mr. Evil, like Obadiah Stane? But that's the point. That's his comic book name. It sounds evil.
You got to keep it. Yeah.
Jeff Bridges, they told him he didn't have to shave his head if he didn't want to for the role, because who would care? And he's like, but they gave me all the comic books, and he's got his head shaved, and so I would not shave my head.
I mean, he looks good this way, though. I feel like it works.
It works. It does work. I remember, like, the first time seeing it, not really even thinking that it was Jeff Bridges. Like, outside of the voice, you don't put it together necessarily just because he's got that shaved head.
Does he look that different with hair? Now I gotta look at him.
Yeah, because he's got that thick head of hair, Jeff Bridges.
I guess that's true. Oh yeah, that's true.
I feel like he's had gray hair for like 40 years, too.
I think he has. He probably did. Yeah, I guess I just never really thought about him with hair. Like, it just made sense that he was bald. I don't know.
They're presenting him with an award.
Not Jeff Bridges.
No,
presenting Tony.
Tony. They're presenting Tony with an award. They said that he took over the role when he was 21, and they almost implied that the company became much more of an ironmonger under Tony. That like Tony and Stane really expand it to be.
I think that makes sense because he's got Obadiah leading him that way.
And in the last 7 years, the U.S. has been at war, so they would have been mopping it up too. Mm-hmm. It cuts to then Rhodey, James Rhodes, played by Terrence Howard. I'm going to make a controversial statement, Rachel.
Okay.
About Terrence Howard. Because, spoiler alert, Terrence Howard gets replaced in the next movie. Terrence Howard is a crazy person. He is kind of insane. I think he's had some legal troubles too. But I think he plays the annoyance, being annoyed by Tony, better than Don Cheadle. Don Cheadle is a better actor. Yeah. And probably overall a better war machine, sure. But he plays being annoyed by Tony Stark better.
He's annoyed. Yeah, he has like that annoyance, but like annoyed in like a, oh my God, you're driving me nuts. Yeah. But I'm still your best friend way.
Yeah. Don Cheadle, because
but he's so much softer. He's so much softer as a person in this.
What do you mean?
It's just the way that he kind of acts is very soft versus
the way that Don Cheadle plays him.
Yes, where he feels a little tougher, a little like harder, like a rough around the edges.
Kind of agree with that. Yes, and that's where I almost think, and maybe you could just say that the relationship changes when Tony becomes Iron Man, and that's why it could kind of shift. Because to me, Terrence Howard plays it like he almost always acquiesces to Tony. And Don Cheadle plays it like you're saying, like a little tougher. But
like,
I would say
I'm
that
not dealing with this anymore.
I would say that Don Cheadle plays it almost softer, just because Don Cheadle's more soft spoken.
That's
he
also
almost
true.
Plays more soft spoken with Rhodey. He's quieter or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it also makes sense that he wouldn't be quite as annoyed in the next one because he's Iron Man, and maybe the way he's like acting isn't quite as pompous. I mean, he's still pompous.
Sure.
Don't get me wrong, it's Tony Stark. But at the same time, I feel like he's settled a little bit.
Yeah.
Like he's settled down.
Rhodey is giving a speech, calls Tony his friend and his mentor. We don't learn the origins of like how these two became friends. I think in the comics, it's literally like Rhodey was part of the group that saved Tony, and then they just always always were friends. I think in like reimaginings of the story, Tony and him were friends before that. I don't know what the canon is in the comics. Who fucking knows? But I'm sure it's been changed a million times.
Probably.
I like to think that in like this universe, they say that Rhodey is part of the weapons development group of the Air Force or something in that vein. So it almost seems like Tony would have like been at some site and just liked this guy, or like just thought that this guy was, fun, or maybe he stood up to Tony or something, and then they just became friends.
Or they're just always together because of their jobs, so that it just became like a thing where it's constantly seeing each other, constantly bantering, and then it's friendship.
When they're on the plane later, Rhodey's like, I'm just your babysitter, and da. So it's like, it is almost like he feels like he has to just like deal with Tony. Tony is not there, of course.
Of course.
Ramin Djawadi doing the score for this, Rachel, who also did the score for Game of Thrones. You can hear a bit of the Game of Thrones theme in some points in the score,
Yeah.
actually, if you listen well enough.
But the score is good.
The score
I
is
do enjoy
mostly
it.
guitar. It's mostly electric guitar to be Iron Man sounding, and like it has
A
a
bit more heavy metal.
yeah, exactly. He does it a few times. He puts the Iron Man theme from the 60s in it. Do 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 do. It's like, he's Tony Stark, he's something something. Like, that's the theme from the 60s.
It sounds so 60s.
Oh,
Like,
it's very 60s. Go ahead and find it now, Rachel. Just find it so you can hear it for yourself. It's Iron Man.
Iron Man! She has to have it so high and squeaky.
That's the 60s. Stane comes up to accept for him since Tony's not there. Well, obviously, I'm not Tony Stark. But if I were, I'd tell you how honored I feel receiving this very prestigious award. Now, my Jeff Bridges is going to be him doing Rooster Cogburn for most of this. So you're just going to have to deal with that. Because I'm pretty sure after True Grit came out, I would just do the Jeff Bridges voice from time to time. So that's what that's what we're getting with Obadiah Stane from Kevin. I'm sorry.
Lovely. Perfect.
You know, the best thing about Tony is also the worst thing. He's always working, which is sort of true, but he's actually
kind
at the
of
craps
true.
table.
Yes.
He's flirting with women as he plays craps. He looks super scummy here, Rachel.
Oh my god, grease head, like greased back.
He looks like he's about to sell you some snake oil.
A couple used cars, some snake oil, whatever works.
Happy Hogan is in the background, John Favreau playing Happy Hogan. I think he only intended this to be a cameo. And now he's been doing this for 18 years. Well, I'm sure he doesn't mind.
Oh my god.
Think about this, Rachel. Even John Favreau...
He became
we'll talk about this
character.
more.
He became a very big character.
Yeah. Even John Favreau, the first director of one of these movies for Marvel Studios, by the second movie was like, I don't think I can work with you guys anymore. It's too much of a pain in the ass. I'll still just be Happy Hogan. How about that?
That's funny.
Rhodey shows up. He's all pissed off. And he tells him, like, you know, they told me that you'd be deeply honored if I presented you with this award. And he's like, okay.
Yeah, I would be. When is that going to be? When am I going to get that?
Like,
he goes, right now. He just hands it to him.
Yeah, he's like, oh, sorry.
No, he goes, no, that was easy. Did he even say sorry? I think he does. I think right.
I think he does. Some of this dialogue you have to watch a couple of times this movie because
they're very snappy, very quick.
Yes, because they're basically, like I said, they're just kind of improvising in a way. Like, it's like professional wrestling. Get the point across. Here's what we want you to say.
We need you to say, or at least get this. This is like the tone, and this is what we need you. Like, get at least these parts.
In the deleted scenes, or if you watch any like the rehearsals of them doing it, Robert Downey Jr. is swearing like Tony Stark in real life would. Like, he's saying fuck and shit and stuff all over the place because he's trying to say it like the natural way, and then Favreau can just, or you know, they can edit it or where they can do whatever they want, or tell him, you know, oh yeah, we like that line or whatever.
That's funny.
Tony gives a Caesar impersonator the award as they walk out, and then Christine Everhart stops them, played by Leslie Bibb, who is coincidentally, I don't know, Sam Rockwell's wife. I don't know if they were married at the time or not, but
I remember you telling
married.
me about that. I think she's in the second one too.
I think she's cute. I think Leslie Bibb is cute. I think she's still
fine.
Cute. Oh wait, did we just do the bit? We did the bit without even doing it, Rachel. Because I said she's cute and you said she's fine, and that's the exact dialogue in the fucking movie. She's cute. She's fine. I do like that back and forth, though. She's cute. She's all right.
Yeah, because he's asking, like, is it worth me stopping and turning around?
Yeah. So is that how you interpret? I can't tell who's saying what. Because I've always thought
Tony
it was...
is asking she's cute, and he's going, she's
and Happy says she's all right. Okay.
Yeah, that's how I take it. And, like, so he's like, all right, I'll turn around then. Like, that's that's worth it.
That's exactly what I wanted to be.
As?
I thought it was Hogan saying she's cute, like, you should turn around, she's cute. And Tony already saw her and said, she's all right. But no, your version, that's what I want it to be.
Oh, yeah.
Where Tony is like, is she cute? And Hogan is like, she's all right.
To be, yeah, she's all right.
So Christine Everhart is the...
We know Happy's not into blondes, so it's okay.
That's true. In the comics, he is married to Pepper.
I forgot about that. That's
very
true.
strange.
Oh, that's weird.
And you're saying it because of Aunt May, and I didn't remember
am.
that. So, okay. God damn,
So it
this
works
fucking
for
franchise is too long to remember all this shit.
There's so much.
First of all, folks at home, if Rachel and I get any of the details wrong, you know that we know this stuff, but for God's sake, I cannot memorize every little factoid about every little line in these movies.
Try.
Rachel will try.
You know,
I will try. Sure.
So I just slowly absorb as much as possible over time.
Christine Everhart is in the comics. She's a Daily Bugle reporter. They make her a Vanity Fair reporter in this because they can't say Daily Bugle. That would have been the first hint that something was up if she said Daily Bugle.
Absolutely. That would make a lot of sense.
She asks him what he thinks about his nickname of being like the Da Vinci of our time, and he goes, it's ridiculous. I don't paint. It's a good comeback.
It's a good comeback.
And then she says, well, how about your other one, The Merchant of Death? And he goes, that's all right. Like, he's so smug about the need for
really
weapons.
Is.
And thinks that, like, war is not just a necessity. It's just a way of life. And he's just taking advantage of it.
Yes.
She's like, I would like a really serious, like, can you just answer me seriously? Because she's this no-nonsense type of reporter. And he says, well, you know, my dad used to say that peace is whoever's carrying the bigger stick. And she calls it war profiteering, and he talks about how all the military funding actually does good stuff. So he's got his principles of how to deal with the press down. Or
yes.
Maybe this is exactly how he feels, where he's just like, war is a necessity. This is how you have to do it. You just have to have the bigger stick.
He just plays the game.
She asks him if he ever loses an hour of sleep at night. He puts on the moves.
Of course.
I'd be willing to lose a few with you. And cut to them fucking. And
immediately. Yep.
So people talk about how these movies are sexless. I think that they're wrong about that, even in some of the modern ones.
I think it's an implied thing that's happened, but they're not going to show it. They're not going to, give it a lot of detail. It's just implied. Even
that, I think people are like, how come they don't ever hook up? And it's like, well, these characters in the comic books hook up constantly.
In the comics, they are
fuck like rabbits.
Yes. With everyone. Everybody gets with everybody, period.
That is true. The superhero community is just a big cesspool.
They are a bunch of sluts. That's what happens.
It's why The Boys has the orgy thing happen, because that's kind of true in the comic book.
Yes.
But I like that Tony immediately, he's a womanizer. I don't know why she decided to sleep with him. She clearly despises
he's a hot,
him.
Rich guy. It's my guess.
I guess so.
Rich guy.
I guess so.
And he's got such charm.
Just the charm. Yeah.
Even though he also oozes like that greasy slime ball look too.
Just charming
right now.
She wakes up in the morning and he's gone. You get implied nudity here with Christine, so that's good. She's
fully wrapped up in that sheet.
I'm gonna say this a million fucking times, and Kevin Feige, I know you're listening, or whoever else is making a Marvel movie or involved in the creative. Just give us some of... I want you to go back and I want you to watch Phase 1. And I just want you to watch some of the stuff that was done in a few of those movies. In particular, this one.
Absolutely.
Where, it's grounded, and there's breaks, and there's breaths.
Yes.
And there's character work.
Breathes.
This scene with Christine, it breathes, and it's like this little character that... She's naked on the bed, for one, Disney... She just gets to walk around. She gets to walk around the house, and Jarvis turns on, and the lights come up, and you get to see through the art of cinema. This is how
Tony lives.
Yes,
and you're getting to see it from this third person of this is how Tony lives, and like, oh my gosh, look at all this crap. Look at this place. This is nuts. I didn't really get to see it last night because we walked in already on top of each other.
It's this super techie house. It tells everything that's going on. It zooms
modern.
out, and it's like this Malibu mansion on
top of a cliff, which is crazy.
They wanted to do it in LA because that's the Howard Hughes thing, since he was an LA guy. I like that setting. I know that Marvel is always New York, but Tony feels like he'd be LA, right?
No, Tony
Silicon
feels LA.
Valley. He's a tech guy. He's an innovator. And then the idea of him being just like I'm living on the ocean. You know, that like
Yeah.
I don't give a shit. I'm living on the ocean. Stane comes from New York from the board of directors meeting. Like, of course Tony and Stane would do that. Like, they're gonna camp out in LA and they're gonna go to New York when they need to.
Right.
I wondered if it was a subtle thing too, and Stanley's talked about this, and I'm probably gonna get my dates wrong and stuff, but when some of Hollywood was talking about like making the cartoons and stuff back in the day out of the comic books, they wanted somebody to go to California like as a representative of Marvel to like supervise, and Stan was like, I'll do it. I've been editor. I'm head editor. I suppose I should do it. He just wanted to go to California, but it was like everything else was in New York, so it was like that kind of dynamic. She rocks around with his shirt on and no pants, which I always enjoyed. She touches his, because I think she's cute. She's
It's a comfortable look, so it's that works for me.
She touches what looks like his nest, which was not a thing in 2008, but it looks like a nest.
It's like a smart house device, like just something that would like control the lights and everything.
Jarvis freaks out because she's not
Jarvis is
authorized
like,
to do it. And there's Pepper Potts, played by Gwyneth Paltrow, who is also a crazy person, but she's crazy
she
in
is,
just
but she's
a snake
fantastic
oily
as
way.
Pepper.
She's very good
I
as
love
Pepper,
her as Pepper
in this movie in particular. She's very good.
She's the perfect Pepper for me. I like her.
Rachel McAdams, I think, was also someone that was up for playing Pepper.
Could've worked.
I think she would have worked out pretty good too. But Gwyneth Paltrow,
Yeah, she would have been fine.
Gwyneth Paltrow does a pretty good job in this as
Yeah.
Pepper Potts. She
gives off more of that like boss lady vibe,
exactly,
and I like that because she's like powerful.
She can
in her own
run
way.
Stark Industries, like she knows everything, and
Absolutely.
Christy knows who she is. So through exposition, we're like, and you must be Pepper Potts. So that's how we get introduced to her. Pepper even says that's Jarvis. He runs the house, which is fun.
Right.
I actually, Rachel, and I'm probably going to get flack from comic book fans for saying this, I prefer the Marvel Universe version of Jarvis, where he's an AI.
Oh, no, I love Jarvis AI. AI Jarvis is fantastic.
Versus like a living butler. And they do that later on. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
We'll get to that. But I like the Jarvis AI. I think it makes sense.
Yeah. Jarvis AI just feels, it's way more fun. He's way more fun.
You can do a lot with him
Yes.
as the AI.
Absolutely.
Because Tony
I
can
don't
take
care
a
if I
whiff.
get flagged. I like it. I love Jarvis. So there. I want my own Jarvis.
Pepper, more redheaded than she'll ever be in the rest of the MCU.
Yeah, it's like a
is Gwyneth
rosy
Paltrow.
redhead.
They've given her a strawberry blonde look here, and freckles, as is appropriate for Pepper Potts. I don't know if Gwyneth Paltrow actually has freckles, but she's got freckles in this.
She may, but maybe they're just not as pronounced.
Maybe back
they
then,
added like extra
but yeah,
ones.
I think they dialed her up a little bit. Christine says Tony still has you picking up the dry cleaning after all these years, and Pepper with a
I love
wonderful
this.
retort. Go ahead,
So
Rachel.
good.
What does Pepper say?
I do anything and everything that Mr. Stark requires, including occasionally taking out the trash.
There you go.
I like that. It's such a good line.
Calling her trash.
She's so sassy.
Very sassy. Well, I mean, these are just these usually bimbos that Tony
That's true.
beds. You know, there's a theme going on here, Rachel, with Volume 5. We've got a lot of male protagonists who are flawed womanizers in Volume 5 up and down the card. Rick O'Connell,
That's very true.
James Bond, Otter, Shrek.
That's true. I think that all works, yeah.
Mark
pans out.
Brandanowitz.
Oh, Mark Brandanowitz, absolutely.
It's a theme.
It
Captain
is a
Jack.
theme.
A lot
Captain
of
Jack.
flawed womanizing men in Volume 5.
Interesting.
Folks at home, make me that poster of all of the male protagonists from
They're all
Volume
hanging
5.
out. They have a party
hanging out at
right
like
now.
night at the Roxbury, like while standing at the bar trying to pick up chicks.
Oh my god.
Who's getting the first chick of that group, Rachel?
Jack.
No, Rick O'Connell.
Oh, Rick. No, you're right. It's Rick. It's
It's
so
Rick.
Rick. It's so Rick.
Because you'd think it's Tony or James Bond, but they're too
You'd think.
smug.
No, you want the rugged. You
Yeah,
get the
you
rugged
got the
one.
ruggedness
And that,
with-
that's, yeah, Rick. Mm-hmm.
Or
I think
Otter. It
Jack
actually
would go for
Otter's
one of
underrated.
the men in the group. I'm just going to say that right now.
Yeah, you know,
Jack would
yeah.
try to sleep with all of them.
That's true. Jack's
He'd
gonna
be like,
try to sleep with all.
well,
of
we're
them.
all right here.
Yeah, that's
what
true.
he would say.
That's right.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
whoever wants to go, boys, is his point of view. That's
Yeah,
true.
Otter would have way too much he thinks he's gonna get everybody, but then he gets nothing because the other ones take him. Yeah.
Yeah, he's very he's so
also, like, the
isolated to
child,
college. Yeah,
so-
now he's not in college. He's like, shit, this is way harder now.
And I have to deal with Shrek. I don't know how this is gonna work.
Like how we're just perpetuating that Shrek was on that list. Bruce Wayne. We had Bruce Wayne in this too.
We did, didn't we? Wow.
A lot of flawed male protagonist womanizers.
Jeez.
That would be pretty good. We should commission
really
someone
wanna
to
see
do
all of them.
to do a poster of Volume 5, and it's just all of our characters at a party, like Where's
like
Waldo
that.
style. Tony is fiddling around in his shop. There's some weird... Rachel, do you know what this music is? I assume it's a real song.
I hate it. I know it's a real song. I hate it. There's...
I could do
It's
it.
just like a guy,
I just want
and
to try
he's like
harder.
doing like some weird like poem, and he just keeps talking like this, and then he goes back and he says the same thing, and then he just keeps talking like this, and I hate it.
I don't
And I
remember
know
a lot.
I'm probably gonna piss people off because they probably love it.
I don't remember a lot from that riff tracks of Iron Man because it's not like one of their best ones. But I do remember when that happens, them going, "Why is he listening to a Keanu Reeves monologue?"
Oh my god! I just felt like it was a stage like
I don't even know what I'm looking
like
at the
poem thing happening.
I'm looking at the soundtrack right now, and I'm like, is it in any particular order? Because I would say that it's probably the song "Damn Kid."
All right, let's find out. No, that's the song. Damn Kid is the song that they used for when they were talking about Tony Stark at the beginning.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Try "Institutionalized," performed by the
It's that
suicidal.
one because he says something like that. Yep, it's definitely that one. I try so hard. Hold on, because I have it. And it's-
There's all these fans are gonna shit on us. It's really
I
bad.
hate it. I hate it. Why would
It does make sense that this would be the kind of music though that Tony would listen to. Like it totally
Oh,
fits
it's
Tony's
so, like,
score. Like his playlist would have this on it.
I like try so hard to do it, and then like they don't like me, and then like I'm like, oh my god, and I'm gonna try again. It just sounds like a teenager having
Well,
like a
yeah,
conniption.
but that's
It's just a
Tony.
teenager ranting, and it's so annoying.
Anyway, it's a bad song. Jarvis is assisting him while he tinkers on something here. I think he's fiddling on the hot rod. I think that's what he's working on.
I think so, yeah.
Pepper comes in and tells him he's supposed to leave. Tony's like, how'd she take it? And Pepper goes, she took it like a champ. So, like, man, come on, Tony. You can tell the girl that she has to leave. But Tony
He
Stark,
doesn't want to. He doesn't have to.
He's so, I don't know, egocentric. He doesn't, I don't know. Like, you can
I mean,
tell,
he's a
this type of guy, yeah.
you know,
He doesn't want to be telling you,
like, I don't want you here. Go away.
yeah.
We're not going to cuddle. I'm not making breakfast. No, there's no waffles. Get out.
Jarvis could have made her some breakfast. That's all I'm saying.
Well, if Donkey was there, he would have made waffles.
Oh, hello there, Ms. Everhart. I've pulled up all of your data that I have from Facebook and MySpace. I have prepared your breakfast for you. Like,
Based
'cause
on that.
Jarvis is put out most of this movie just because of Tony's antics, so. I've made you waffles with strawberries and whipped cream. The Leslie Knope diet is what I call it.
I'll take that.
I mean, I would
you.
take that.
I
If
would
I had
absolutely
sex with
accept
Tony
something
Stark,
made by
I'd
Jarvis.
expect a fucking breakfast in the morning if I have sex with Tony Stark. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, yes.
I guess she got her clothes dry cleaned for
I think
her,
I would.
so-
Maybe I'll take Iron Man over Tony.
No, how are you gonna fuck Iron Man, Rachel?
I don't know.
It's like the one
Figure it out.
superhero that's gonna be pretty hard to have sex with.
Well, I'm not talking about the suit.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, that's not what I'm saying.
I thought he was in the suit. That's what I,
I
thought.
mean, anyways, it doesn't matter. Moving on.
So Pepper asks him if he wants this Pollock painting. Pepper thinks that it's overpriced. And he says, buy it, store it. So
I have to have it.
yeah, he's like, I have to have it. He's almost like playing a game with her where like he knows he's gonna buy it and he's not gonna do shit with it, but he's like, I'm gonna buy it anyway, I don't fucking care. He deflects going to do some MIT thing. They want him to be a guest speaker and he doesn't want to do
Right.
it, so he kind of poo-poos it. That comes back later on in the MCU.
Yeah.
She
Right?
has
Yeah.
yeah, he does the talk at MIT eventually.
Oh,
He
okay,
he
right,
agrees to do it. That's what he's doing at the beginning of Civil War. She has plans, she says. It's her birthday. He tries to play it off like he didn't didn't know that it was her birthday. He's like, oh, yeah, already? Like that kind of thing. And she's like, yep, same day every year.
Right.
He tells her to get herself something nice from him, and she says that she already did. And he goes, was it nice?
I hope it was good. Yeah. And she goes,
like,
it was
oh,
very nice.
Very tasteful. These two work very well together. You have to give it up for them. They're the type of actors. They've worked on like the different things that they've worked on. They know how to play off of each other very well. I think that helps a lot.
You can feel the chemistry.
Yeah, absolutely. And I end up questioning some of the stuff that they do with Pepper Potts in some of the future movies, because Gwyneth Paltrow was probably like, how come I can't be an Iron Man? And she's too big of a name to not let her do stuff. Her and Robert Downey Jr. have very good chemistry.
I mean, it kind of also does make sense, though, that he would want to protect her. If he gets to put her in one of his suits, it's his way of, like, holding on to her and protecting her.
We'll get to that in Iron Man
All right, fine.
3
Fine.
or whenever
It's
the hell
3.
that happens.
It's 3. I think.
He flies in his own car. This is the Audi that you and I, when we were looking up our fake sponsors, found several commercials for.
Many. Mm-hmm.
Down the street, he's racing Happy. Happy's in the town car.
Sure.
It's not a limo.
We'll
I
just
think
call
it's a
it
town
that.
car.
I think so.
Rhodey is pissed because he is like 3 hours late, and he's just like, make me sit here on this fucking tarmac.
Yeah, like he has to
waiting for
stand
you.
there the whole time.
Yeah, they're in like the Stark private jet too. Tony says, sorry, got caught doing a piece for Vanity Fair. Pretty good.
Oh yeah, that is a good one. It's a good line.
He, of course, has basically strippers for his flight crew. That's the flight attendants on his private jet, where he has he has 3 of them for like 2 people.
Like he must have handpicked his flight attendants because
Right,
he wants these sexiest ones up there.
I'm gonna be straight with you, Rachel. If I ever have a private
you gotta handpick them.
jet, and I wouldn't have a private jet, I think it's very wasteful to have a private jet. Although I do understand the need for it, and like your Taylor Swifts and stuff. You wouldn't want them flying commercial; they would ruin the flight. If I ever end up in that spot, I'm gonna hire my own. I'm gonna flash.
I would
hire these
handpick
flight
them
attendants.
because I don't want to be pissed off. Like, don't piss me off. I want people that I can stand on the plane with me.
It's a George Costanza situation where like you gotta hire the right secretary. You're hiring the most efficient one, but then if you're gonna do this Tony Stark thing, you're gonna get a couple that are like easy on the eyes. So anyway,
I don't think he cares if they're good at their job. I think he just.
What do you need a flight crew for this? Your private jet?
Then he
I
doesn't
can't
have
imagine
to do
you
anything.
need 3. I guess that's
correct, but then he doesn't have to do anything.
Rhodey and Tony are arguing like a married couple here. This is where he says like, "You make me be your babysitter" and all this stuff. They're talking over each other a lot too, which I enjoy. I like that kind of dynamic.
It just feels real.
It's like how you and I talk half the time.
I always do that. Yeah, you're right.
Tony wants the sake heated up. Rhodey's like, no, we're not drinking. We're doing business. Like, he wants to prepare for the presentation.
We are working right now. Right.
Of course, Tony gets his way. They get drunk. The attendants literally are dancing.
I do like how Rhodey is, like, holding the whole bottle of sake at that point, too. When he's, like, doing his, like, I gotta talk to you, and I'm just doing the drunk talk type thing.
Talking about how he would lay
when I
his
have
life
my
on the
uniform
line.
on, and it's like...
A pole even comes up from the floor.
Yep. And
for the
they all
girls
look
to dance on.
very...
It's
They're dancing. They're having a good time.
Oh, they're having a great time. Ghostface Killa is playing as they fly. The whole Wu-Tang Clan all has different names of their favorite Marvel characters because they're nerds too, Rachel. Ghostface was his alias. So I don't know if it's like how they've like always subscribed or like their pen names. There is a Ghost Rider and like all of that. So they all have different names. His was Tony Stark. So they actually had him in a deleted scene too. He was like a Saudi Arabian, like Abu Dhabi like type of oil man that was making a deal with Tony in a deleted scene.
Oh, interesting.
So that's why they have his video playing in the background. I think it might come up in another one of the Iron Man sequels, but that's a nod to him for actually being a big Iron Man fan and actually getting to.
That's cute.
Now you get to see Iron Man.
That's cute.
There you go. Rachel said the Wu-Tang Clan.
Well, it's kind of fun when it's like, come on, that's fun.
No, I always like finding the secret
stuff.
nerds. I always love when somebody gets outed as being like a secret nerd because I am one. So then when you find out that
I just am like a very open nerd.
Joe Burrow bought the fucking Batmobile. He's a huge fucking nerd. I think that you get along with those guys, Rachel.
All right. I'm down.
I mean, I think that sometimes a lot of people, especially with this nerdy, I hate the term nerd culture or geek culture, but like the nerdy stuff, the stuff that's more sci-fi or fantasy or whatever, do forget that a majority of the people that are in it are not fans of this stuff. It's just a paycheck or it's a big movie to be a part of or something like that.
A lot of the times, too, you hear, like, the director's like, I don't want them to read because I want them to be the character. I don't want them to read the character.
I don't know. I think most of the time they always have them read them.
Is it? I thought it was the opposite.
I don't know about
like,
Robert Downey Jr.
They act like that.
They never said about Robert Downey Jr. if they did or not. I think they just kind of said, like, here's the premise and, like, just be you with this premise. Gwyneth Paltrow said that she asked Marvel to send her any comic books with Pepper Potts in it that they thought would be good for her to, like, get the character down. So, like, she read them all.
Okay. All right, well.
Tony exits the plane, and he has his trademark douche glasses on. These glasses that look like Tony Stark glasses that come up throughout the MCU.
Yeah, they're like metallic, and then like more of a colored frame that's like sepia, like a brownish tint. Yeah.
I really like the speech that he gives when he is doing the demonstration. Is it better to be feared or respected? Can it be both? Some people say that the best weapon is one that you never have to fire. I prefer the weapon you only have to fire once. It's a good speech, actually.
I mean, it is.
By this drunk.
Works for... I mean, I guess that's true. But I think it works for his role, too. Like,
yes. He's an ironmonger.
Right.
That's how he's selling it.
They say the best weapon is one you never have to fire. I respectfully disagree. I prefer the weapon you only have to fire once. That's how Dad did it. That's how America does it. And it's worked out pretty well so far.
They blast a rocket. It's using repulsor technology, they say. That explains why he can do the repulsors by taking apart the Jericho.
I thought you meant like Rita Repulsor.
Oh, yes. Rita Repulsor.
I'm so sorry.
Yes. Please. Her dad is Rita Repulsor. No, her dad is Master Vile, I know. Stop tweeting at me. Why is her name Rita Repulsa and his name is Master Vile? Did she take her mom's name?
Could be. Maybe she's married.
No, because she
Could
married
be any
Zed.
of the above.
I guess she could have been married before. That's true.
Yeah, okay. She could have taken the mom's name. Maybe she took a different name.
Because Rito, her brother, is Rito Revolto.
Why do they all have different names?
Anyway, I don't know what the hell that was about. He does the hand thing where he puts his hands up as the rocket lands, which is like a trademark image, in my view, of this movie and of superhero movies in general, of the sonic blast coming at him while his hands are up. I feel like that's one of the iconic images of Marvel's movies. He did it when they announced him as Dr. Doom. Like when
he did, didn't he?
He did the same hand motion. Yeah. So like that's
interesting.
It kind of became his thing.
Huh. Oh, there you go.
He brought a cooler with him. Throw in one of these with the purchase of every 500 million.
You say it's a cooler, but this is like a cooler that James Bond would have, where it opens up and has like all the martini glasses. It has the liquor in it.
Now you're talking my language. I could get by pretty well with one of these.
Yeah.
Hugh, can you pack this up for me on all of my sexy adventures? Stane calls him, asking how it went.
On his weird phone. Mm-hmm.
On his weird phone. We get a little bit of shirtless Jeff Bridges here.
Yeah, like, why do I have to have...
Because why not? I like when Tony asks him, though, like, hey, how come you're not wearing those pajamas I got you?
Yes!
When we learn what happens later on where Obadiah, like, set him up, is he calling just to see, where's Tony at?
Where's he at? Yeah, I think it's a location thing. Just to be like, okay, he's done with the presentation, so he's starting to move out, so he's probably going to call. That's when the hit's supposed to happen.
Tony doesn't want to ride with Rhodey. All Rhodey even wanted to do was tell him good job. I don't know if Rhodey was even going to go.
No, I don't think they were going to sit together. But he was just like, no, this is the fun V, the drum Humvees back there.
Then the attack happens. So we've caught up to the first scene of the movie. Only took us an hour. The flashes of surgery being performed.
Yeah, when it
and
should have
Tony...
been 15 minutes.
The flashes of surgery are being performed, and Tony is in pain. It's he's getting the adamantium skeleton put in here, I think.
Yeah, it makes sense.
He wakes up with a tube in his nose in a cold cave. He pulls the tube out of his nose, which is gross.
It just makes me so
You can
uncomfortable.
feel it.
Yes.
Yinsen is standing over there shaving. He is a Middle Eastern man. In the comics, he is Vietnamese, and then they upgraded him to be Middle Eastern when they upgraded it from Vietnam to Afghanistan.
Oh,
and
yeah, that would make
Yinsen
sense.
sounds enough, so it's fine.
Okay. That's funny. That makes a lot of sense, though. He's got wires coming out of his chest, and it's hooked up to, like, a car battery.
Yes, it is hooked up to... So now he is literally part machine, part man. He has lost his chest. His humanity is... A piece of him has been lost.
Right.
And his heart is damaged here.
Yes.
He tells Tony not to move, and that he had to remove shrapnel, but he couldn't get all of it out. But he did as much as he could. He couldn't get it because, like, he would have scraped the vital organs if he tried to get any more.
Well, especially, like, where he's at. He's like, this was not a safe environment
Right.
for me to do that.
He says that in his country, they call it the Walking Dead, because you could get some of this in you from one of these explosions and not even realize it. And if it gets in your bloodstream, it just goes right to your heart and just takes you out and
Then
kills
you just die. Yeah.
And the car battery is like magnetically keeping the stuff where it's at so that it
Right.
doesn't get to his heart.
I think that's the idea, is that he just pretty much has a magnet in his chest that's just holding it at bay.
He sees that they're all being monitored, and Yinsen tells him that they've met before. He was drunk, giving a lecture on integrated circuits.
Yeah, he's like, I don't think you remember. It's like, I don't know how you did that, because he's like, nobody should be able to do that.
The terrorists come in. The head guy, so there's like one head terrorist guy with like a big beard. Almost looks like, he looks almost professional wrestler-ish. I'm trying to think,
He
though.
does.
Doesn't he?
He kind of does.
Has that like look to him?
Yes.
Like if you put a few of them in like a blender and mixed it together, he would be like the love child of like a Samoa Joe and like
Rusev
Keith Lee,
and, like,
Rusev.
yeah.
He has that look.
Rusev.
Looks like a hoss.
Yeah. Like, he'd kick some ass, though. He'd be like doing some... He'd be like landing on top of you all the time. Mm-hmm.
But he's their like spokesman guy, and Yinsen translates for them. Calls Tony Stark the most famous mass murderer in America. They're honored to meet him, and they want him to build the Jericho missile. Rachel, I'm pretty sure that I have said this next line to you, to others, at work. I use this line constantly. It's one of those weird things where it's not a famous line. It's a completely throwaway line, but it's one of those things that I use in my everyday life all the time, and I say it exactly how Tony says it here, which is, I refuse.
I refuse.
I refuse. I feel like I do that too, and it's probably either this or it's just because you do it all the time, so that I just took it from you as well.
Probably. But it's just one of those lines that will come up on our journey through Shelf Life of like, we do it all the time, and it's a throwaway thing, but we do it for some reason. He gets waterboarded.
Yep.
And lead him out of the cave. His eyes aren't used to it, so he like has to like adjust. He's got a kind of a 5 o'clock shadow now. He's got kind of the beard. He looks more like the Tony Stark I know in these
scruffy.
movies.
He's getting scruffy.
Yeah. He's changing.
And he's holding his battery.
He's reemerging in the light. He's
true.
being reborn here as a different kind of man.
Yeah, because they're breaking him down first. Mm-hmm.
They show all the Stark weapons they've got, and they tell him, just tell us what materials you need. You start working. When you're done, you can go. The terrorist guy asks him to like shake on it, and Tony tells Yinsen, no, they won't. And Yinsen goes, no, he won't.
No, they won't.
They're like, yeah, you're dead either way.
Yeah, you don't get to leave. Yep. You're not going to leave alive. You can leave in a body bag.
We see the real head of the Ten Rings in the distance. He looks like Emotep, sort of.
He does. He kind of does.
We could say we're bookmarking it with Emotep looking villains. Emotep. I was trying to figure out who these guys actually are. So it could be... I've heard who the head of the Ten Rings is. This one might be it, this Abu Bakr.
The one that looks like Emotep? Is that who you're
No,
talking
no,
about?
no. That's the one that we were talking about. Is a professional wrestler looking guy. That's that character's name. Although I don't know if they ever say that.
I don't think they ever say any of their names. Yeah, that's him.
Where is the other guy? Oh, Raza.
They have a picture of him.
So Raza is the name
Yeah,
of the Ten Rings leader, and he is a
Yes.
character from Marvel Comics, I guess. He's nothing like this particular character. I have just put him down as fake Mandarin. Fake Mandarin number 1. So he's the first fake Mandarin. Because he might as well be...
Because he could have been the Mandarin.
Yeah. So I looked up what is Raza in Marvel Comics, and he is an extraterrestrial cyborg. So he definitely is not the same character here.
Wow, okay. That's very different.
When he gets
Unless...
burned, that looks a little bit more like him, because like he has like a thing over one of his eyes in the comics. So
Okay.
there you go. Yinsen says they are not going to be. They know he knows that they're looking for Tony, because of course they'd be looking for Tony Stark, but they're not going to find him because not in these mountains. And he basically admonishes Stark. And I was trying to figure out what he's trying to motivate Tony to do here, because he says like, "This is your legacy, Stark. These murderers have all of your weapons. This is what people are going to remember you for. His life's work is in their hands. Is this the last act of defiance of the great Tony Stark?" Basically saying he's not going to do anything. He's just going to let them kill him. Or are you going to do something about it? I think he's trying to motivate him to, like, try to get out of here. Because he's like, they're not going to find you. I think Tony was thinking, if I just waste time, they'll eventually find us. And, like, they'll get us out of here. And Yinsen's like, they're not going to find you. Afghanistan's terrain is so horrendous. Like, it's impossible.
It's going to be impossible.
So you have to do something. Or is this the last great act of defiance, like killing yourself and letting your legacy be like a warmonger?
Mm-hmm. I also wonder if he's trying to be like, what if we destroy the place? Like, let's destroy everything.
Well,
here.
The next thing
Like,
Stark
the two
says
of us
is like,
could do this.
He's despondent because he's like, I'm going to be dead in a week anyway. What's the difference? And Yinsen says, well, this is a very important week for you then, isn't it? So he's trying to say like, you should try to
make use of it.
If you think you're going to be dead, then yeah, let's build something and destroy the place. Like, do something.
Right. We'll make the bomb and we'll blow this place up. We'll blow all of the weaponry up. You know, maybe that's what we could do.
He gets an idea, and then they get to work with needing materials, and they work. We learn a little bit more about Yinsen as they work. He speaks a dozen languages. He asks them who they are, like meaning the terrorists, and Yinsen goes, "They are your loyal customers." But he calls them the Ten Rings. The Ten Rings, of course, in Marvel Comics is associated with the Mandarin. It's like the Infinity Stones type of deal. It's another MacGuffin.
Oh, okay.
That's in the Marvel Universe. Kind of the first sign that you're going to have a bunch of MacGuffins if you're talking about the Ten Rings.
Bring on the MacGuffins.
I love the look of this cave. It looks very cinematic. Like, it just looks like a
Yes.
They built this on a stage.
I mean, it looks like I'm at Universal Studios.
Exactly.
Like, I'm in a ride right now. Yeah.
Yeah. He won't tell Yinsen what they're doing. He, like, refuses to tell him. Yeah. You know, you could help if you told me what we're doing. Yeah, we're doing shut the fuck up. Let me work. He pulls out palladium from the Jericho missile, which is a real thing. I looked it up one time, Rachel. It's real. And he tells him, you know what? We're going to have to break down a bunch of this fucking palladium. So why don't you go work on that and stop asking me questions? I'm the genius here. This part, I wrote a little note, Rachel. It looks pretty great on the 4K.
Oh, does
like
it?
the enhancement,
this
scene in particular looks really good.
Yeah, I could see that. It probably would bring out like the colors and everything too, since there's just like pops of it everywhere.
Mm-hmm. They make a little mini arc reactor, and Tony explains what the arc reactor is. Rachel, what's the arc reactor?
What do you mean? Like, what do you want me to say to that?
What tell the people what the arc reactor does? It's like a power source.
Is it?
It's
Yeah, I was
like
gonna say, isn't it like it's like a mini nuclear plant? And
yeah,
it's
kind of. Yeah.
It's just a power source. That's all it is. Like, they have a giant one. Like, he made a arc reactor is this huge thing.
But it was never like feasible to be able to actually use on like a wide scale.
Right.
But Tony has somehow figured out how to miniaturize it, and he explains he's going to put it in his chest instead of this car battery to keep the shrapnel magnetized, and it will also power his heart. So if his heart goes out, the art reactor
Yes.
will basically just work as his heart. I think is kind of what
I think that's his idea. I
Yeah.
think that's his whole point. Like, he goes, well, if the heart goes, I need something to keep me going. So this can keep me going. It can act as the heart.
Well, because Yin said something about like how it could power your heart for 50 lifetimes, and he's like,
Yeah.
or it'll sunbake me for 15 minutes, meaning like I don't know how this is gonna work. It could murder me by putting it in my
Right.
chest.
He could do one big thing for 15 minutes.
Yeah. The tinkering pretty good in this too. Just this montage of them working on stuff.
Yes.
I liked it. It conveys a lot as they go through it about how much Tony just likes to tinker and engineer and whatnot.
Because he's like very hands-on. He's very hands-on with everything.
It's fast-paced in plot, but it takes its time. Mm-hmm. And it knows what to take seriously at the right moments and where it can make jokes because of what the characters are doing in the situation and not going,
Exactly.
that happened a million
Right.
times. Mm-hmm. The humor in this is
They should go back to this.
fitting. Fits the character.
Yeah, it fits the everything. It fits
Even in the-
what's going on, the situation, the events, the characters. Yes.
Even in the lesser movies, in the first phase of Marvel's movies, they are not nearly as, that's a stupid name. Wow, I can't believe that happened, with their humor that they became eventually and
Right.
need to get rid of.
Yes.
One of the criticisms, they need to get rid of it. Deadpool
Right.
is the only character that should be allowed to do that shit.
Yes.
And maybe
Even
a
his has
little
gotten
bit.
a little too much.
Yeah, even his, it was like back it
Back the
back it
fuck
the fuck
off.
up a little bit. Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
It's just, it's so much better than a lot, not all, but a lot of the stuff that they're doing now. We see the arc reactor. It takes 3 gigajoules per second, is what they say. So that's like the amount of energy that it gives off.
Right.
They put it in, so now he's got the arc in his chest, and now he looks like Iron Man.
Because it's all glowy.
He shows to Yinsen that he's building an Iron Man to get out. I don't know why this would have been his first idea, but okay.
That's true. But I mean, I guess it's the idea is to build armor
Yeah.
so that you can get past the guards with, guns.
Yeah, because you're like, I guess because you're in the cave, you don't know what the terrain is going to be like. So, like, what do? You can't build, like, a car. You can't build, like, a device that you think you can, like, shoot out of the cave, I guess. So, like,
Right.
what do? You
build something that allows you to get to be safe. It's like a shield. You're building a shield around your entire body. He's building a knight's costume. He's building that,
Well,
He's
he is
wearing
called the
a
Iron Knight
knight's
a lot, Rachel.
armor.
So, yeah. Rachel stumbled
So
on
I think
that
that's
one,
the
too.
idea.
Yeah. They're playing backgammon at one point because they're just kind of hanging out while they're tinkering. Right. One of the behind-the-scenes stuff said that Robert Downey Jr., his experience in prison, helped them set dress a lot of this.
Oh,
interesting. He said that he talked about how you'd make tea in prison and how they would make backgammon out of whatever they could get. So I guess
like
that's why they have him
and
playing this,
and...
because Robert Downey Jr. must have been like, we played a lot of backgammon.
That's
I don't
interesting.
know.
Huh. I guess just for entertainment purposes, like especially in this cave, it's just like we just needed some downtime to relax and give us, some sort of form of entertainment.
Yeah. We learned that he's from Gulmira, a town called Gulmira, little town. He has a family, and that he's going to see them again when he leaves. And he says, "And you, Stark?" And Tony goes, "No." And he's like, "Oh, so you're the man that has everything, but also
nothing.
Thinks he has nothing." Or nothing.
Yes.
I never liked that, Rachel, as a person with a single man in his mid-30s, younger than Tony Stark as the time of this recording.
But Tony doesn't even really have. Well, he has Pepper. And
who
he
is
has Rhodey.
Who works for him. Yeah.
Right.
He's got Rhodey.
They all work for him. So does he really have friends? So it's not just like, do you have a family? Do you have friends? Do you have anybody? Do you have a support system? It's just the people who work for him.
It's the Scrooge thing, right? Like, who are you sharing everything that you have with? Like,
right.
What are you fulfilling here with your... What part of your life is, like, the self-actualization coming in if you don't have anyone to be like... Come have fun at my Malibu mansion.
Yes.
I think part of that, not to go back to that scene, but part of that Christy Everhart scene of her walking around in this massive house, I think also is showing that Tony is just, he has this house to have it. He's not
has
doing
it, it's for
anything
show.
with
He's
it.
not really. Yeah, he's always in his lab. He's always in his garage, like working on stuff. Like he's like, yeah, it's there.
Yeah.
It's all kind of just for show.
The terrorists start to question it because they can't see all of the stuff they're doing, and they're like, it doesn't look like a missile. Like, shouldn't it look like a rocket?
Like, that's not a missile part. Yeah, like, what is this?
Raza is watching, and I look evil. He's giving the evil eyes as they zoom
Yeah, he
slowly
does
on
do
his
that.
face.
That's like what he mostly is at this part, where it's just kind of like squinting and evil. Like,
They make something that looks like a mechanical leg. Stark is testing it to see if the leg moves, and it's like, what? How are you gonna?
That's so obvious. Like, what is that? What is that?
I guess you'd be like, well, we need
You're
to get
testing
it.
hydraulics? Like,
Yeah, we need to. The missile's got hydraulics in
It's
it. What
got
do you
a
want
kick,
me to say?
you know? It literally kicks inside, huh? Stupid.
The Ten Rings come in the room again, and Raza comes in. It should have just been the Mandarin. They could have just made this the Mandarin. They could have made it that the Mandarin
could have
is
worked.
a title that transfers from the head
Yes.
of the Ten Rings.
I like that
over the
idea.
years.
That's better than what they did. Yeah.
Well, they also had the Mandarin in Shang-Chi.
I know they did.
Oh.
I know. I thought he was the worst part.
No, his dad, Shang-Chi's dad, is supposed to be like the real man.
was
He
the
has the
Mandarin?
rings. He actually has the rings.
Oh, okay, so he was the actual Mandarin. Okay. Well, they had the shitty Mandarin character actor. Like, fucking
we'll get to that.
stupid. I'm sorry. I forgot that the dad was also the Ten Rings Mandarin.
But then it would have made sense, where it's just like,
It would
no,
make more sense.
I think he even says something like, I was head of that organization, and then like they broke off, and then they were like this little pissant. But they retcon that whole thing, so we'll get into that.
Yeah,
one
of
day.
course.
He says that the bow and arrow let Genghis Khan rule all of Asia, and now it's going to be his turn. They question why Yinsen hasn't finished yet. They're talking about like, well, it takes time to do this shit. And they put him on his knees, and they put a hot coal in his mouth. Yinsen doesn't give it up, though.
Nope.
Even as they're doing this, he's just like, we're building the Jericho missile.
Right.
I like when Tony takes a step forward, like, what do you want me to do? And they like all
And
like,
they all just raise their guns immediately. Yes. He goes, I can give you a timeline. What do you want?
Yeah.
I need him. I need him.
He says he needs him. He's a good assistant. Raza tells them that they have a day to assemble his missile. The famous hammering sound effect, Rachel.
The
Dun,
ting,
dun, dun, dun,
ting,
dun, dun, dun,
ting.
dun, dun, dun. Pretty built for a tech bro. Wouldn't you say that Tony's got
What,
some
Tony?
arms on him? Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, I kind of expected that he does a little bit of working out.
Well,
What else is he gonna do?
Robert Downey Jr. was, and I'm sure still is, like big into yoga and stuff as part of his like
Yeah.
rehab.
Oh,
of
he's such an
his-
interesting dude. He has the weird. He has goats. He probably does like a lot of weird like working out stuff.
A very
but, I mean,
strange.
He's pretty
life,
toned.
yeah.
He's not like massive, like muscular, but he's like toned. I would say he's fit.
The one thing that I will always say about Tony Stark and Robert Downey Jr. in general is you should just let him be short, because in real life he is very short.
Yeah, and it
you
makes
should
sense.
just let that character be short, because that could be part of his personality.
Right.
You know, because
He's
especially
got
when
such
he
a
has
big
to
personality. Right.
deal with with Cap and Thor and shit like
all
that.
of them
too.
who are like massive. Right.
Like, I get it that he should be in shape because Robert Downey Jr. was going to be in shape anyway. He does martial arts and shit. So he's going to want to be. But I think he even, like, I got to do a little bit of weights. Like, but if you're in this cave for some weeks, like, you're not going to have, like, the Ripley muscles when you're in the cave. But that's comic books. That's just
Comic booky thing. Yeah.
My point was more like a tech bro like this. Like, yeah, he tinkers and engineers and stuff. So he should be in better shape than, like, a guy that's sitting behind the computer doing the programming and everything like that. But still.
I would assume he has like a personal trainer and stuff.
Oh,
though, too,
100%.
Because he's
That
such
he screws.
like a rich
He
snob.
sleeps with the personal trainer.
Yes. Yeah. Probably.
He's been to all the massage parlors.
He's had many. He's had many personal trainers.
We get that first look of
Yes,
the Mark
like the
I helmet.
original. Mm-hmm.
They have a whole plan on how Tony's going to get out of the camp, and they're going to like take it over. It's like 12 paces this way, and then 15
Right.
paces that way.
Yeah, because he knows Jensen knows it more, so he's like trying to tell him like these are the numbers. This is what you have to remember. Like remember these number of steps because it's like once you're in that suit, it's going to be impossible to see.
Right.
So you just kind of have to feel it at that point.
Well, and we don't know how long Yinsen's been there. I think we find out that Tony was there for 3 months. So yeah, Tony's been there for a while. Yinsen's probably been there for a long time.
That's what I'm assuming.
They send people to check on Yinsen because they can't see Stark. They don't know where Stark went, and they're like, "You go check on it." And as they go to check on it, this guy tries to come in the door. Yinsen tries to keep them back, but then they put a bomb on the door.
Yeah, they had it like rigged to blow when it was going to be opened.
So they go to open the door and it blows up.
I love how he's like surprised, like, "Oh my god, it worked." He goes, "Of course it worked."
Yeah, he's like, "That's what I do. Like, I make bombs." They're powering the suit via the arc reactor. Is that kind of what's happening
I think that's the idea. Yep. Because a part of it, I think, was when it was like, or something big for 15 minutes. Like, that's when he starts doing, like, it's all powered up. He only has that much time. He doesn't know if it's actually going to work.
Something big for 15 minutes?
Isn't that what he says?
I thought
that's
said,
how he
or
says it.
sunbake for 15 minutes.
No, I think he
like
says something big. Like, it'll power something big for 15 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes more sense than my interpretation of him saying, or sunbake for 15 minutes. And thinking that he thought that
I was wondering what you meant by that. And I just
he'll,
didn't
like,
question it.
fry up his chest. All right.
Yeah, it's something big.
I like my line.
He's gonna get
folks
baked
at home.
in
Let
that
us know
suit.
which one you prefer. Do you prefer sunbake for 15 minutes or something big?
Something big.
Whatever. More people are going to be on my side than you think, Rachel.
I bet, because he's just
Get
going to
a
be a big
pull
baked
out there.
potato inside of that Iron Man suit.
I would eat Robert Downey Jr. if he was a baked potato.
Oh my god!
Okay, now that's an idea. We dress up baked potatoes like the Avengers.
As the Avengers! How
All right,
cute
for
would
your-
that be?
folks
And
at
then
home,
put
for
him on
your-
a couch.
for the
Oh,
next-
couch potato Avengers!
No, they're part of your shawarma meal.
Oh my god! That's adorable.
All right, folks at home, for your next Avengers screening, you have some people over. You make a different kind of baked potato for each Avenger. So
I
you're like
like
Iron Man
that.
has like bacon for like the red, like some ketchup and like mustard kind of thing.
Sure, yeah.
And then your red, white, and blue, of course, for Cap. Avocado, for Hulk, of course. Got some
Oh, of course,
guacamole and
course,
chives
yeah.
and shit. Don't know what Thor could
You
be.
get like spiral cut for like Spider-Man, if you're gonna have Spider-Man in there. I don't know if you're gonna have Spider-Man.
I'm thinking the Avengers.
Oh, you're
I'm
thinking like
of-
the original. I got you.
Yeah, come on, Rachel.
What?
It's not this B
I
team.
was just trying to come up with like fun ideas.
Mashed potato Avengers. Potatoes.
Maybe he's just a twice
Potatoes,
potato.
Rachel. Potatoes are a thing for Volume 5 as well. all I'm
That's true.
saying.
There's a lot of potatoes. There's a lot of potatoes.
Not as many as there used to be. All right, I don't know why my mind went there, but that's the line that came out. And it's a
That's
reference to Kramer, to Jerry saying there's a lot of people walking around the city that look like me, not as many as there used to be.
Oh my god.
So they're like all getting ready. But he doesn't think that the sequence is going to finish in time, because the idea is that Tony goes first, Yinsen follows.
Right.
And he tells Tony that he's going to buy him some time. And runs out firing this gun. Yinsen chases a few of these guys off, but he ends up in a room with a bunch of guys with guns. They aim, and then I guess they just blow him away off screen, because we don't see them blow him away. The sequence finishes and the lights go out. And then the terrorists come in slowly. We see Tony's hand. It's like in this big like work glove.
Yes.
He pushes the one guy back, and then they shoot wildly, but they can't see anything. And then the Mark I goes on this march down the hallway of the cave, and we get a hero pose in the Iron Man suit. Which a lot of the backstage stuff the stuntmen were like, the suit is heavy as fuck.
Oh,
And
I
they're
would
trying-
imagine.
And they're looking at the comic book pages like, okay, we got, like, this is how you have to stand. And they're like, if I do this, all the weight is on your shoulders. Like, you wouldn't just stand there like that. So then they're like
Right.
going back and forth like that. And then like the director or the second unit director, whoever, is like, well, I need you to just stand like
Just
this. And
do
they're
it
like,
for a
okay, do you want me to
second,
hunch
all
down?
right?
Like, I just like that little stuff, because it's like all those little things where it's on
just those
screen
little
for
details.
a second, but if it was
Yes.
wrong,
It was enough.
you'd notice it.
Right.
He walks down the cave tunnel, and it's very dark, with brief periods of Tony punching them out. Bit of shaky cam that I'm not a big fan of, but it is there. And then a good bit of them just kind of like running away.
Well, because they're like, they're shooting at it and nothing's happening. It's just, like, ricocheting.
Yeah. They
So
try
they're
to...
like, what am I supposed to do with this? Like, there's just giant Iron Man coming after me.
Somebody could probably frame this up with that scene in Rogue One where Darth Vader's killing all the rebels at the end of that. It's the same thing.
Oh my god.
Just replace Darth Vader with Iron Man. I think that Rogue One just stole it from this. You know what we want to do? Kathleen, here's what we're going to do. We've already got Iron Man. We'll just CGI over an Iron Man scene with the Darth Vader scene. It'd be great.
Yeah, it's easy. Just deep fake it. It'll be fine.
You know, in the future, we're not even going to have any of these actors. We're just going to take the pages from the comics. We're going to tell the AI, you take the comic, you make it live action. Bada bing, bada boom. $300 million. There you go. I literally picked up a fake cigar because I was in character.
You gotta get in character. You're holding that cigar.
I guess it should be Kevin Feige, so it's more like, oh, we could have AI do this, or whatever he fucking sounds like. He gets his arm stuck in the cave at some point, and this guy comes back. He tries to find, an opening in the armor so that he can kill Tony, but he can't, and the bullet just reflects off of the Iron Man armor, and he shoots himself in the head, which is fun. That's fun.
Yes. No, that's fun. I like it.
Raza is getting ready. Iron Man blows him away with a rocket on his arm, so he had one of the little Jericho missiles on his arm.
Mm-hmm. So he didn't do it. He did make it.
He did.
Just a little Jericho on his arm.
Right. It's a little off though, and it hits the wall instead, and then reflects and takes out Raza, but you don't know exactly what happened. He sees Jensen dying on a pile of what I think is supposed to be another commentary in the background here, because it's a bunch of USO. It says USO on it, so it's supposed to be civilian relief stuff.
Sure.
That the Americans would send over, but it got taken.
Of course, went to the bad guys, right? Yeah.
Well, they probably ransacked a village.
Oh yeah, and they're okay, yeah, we'll take all of this, right?
The Americans' plan of raise the place to the ground and then just, I don't know, it didn't work exactly as they thought it would. He tells Tony that this was always the plan, because Tony's like, you got to get up, you got to go see your family, and Jensen's like, I am going to go see my family, they're dead. Clearly dead. The Ten Rings killed them all, and his plan was
It's so sad. It's so sad, because he knew he was going to die. The only way he was going to leave he was going to end up dying so that he could see his family again, and it's so sad.
Oh, it's good. It's a good mentor.
Oh, it's great.
Hero's journey story. He's the mentor.
Yes.
He tells Tony that he wanted this and to not waste his life.
Yes.
In a way, he's saying you've got a second chance here. You're being reborn. You have a new identity. Don't waste it. Don't waste what you've got. Iron Man emerges from the cave. I like that. It's almost Incredible Hulkish. He's dun dun,
yes,
thundering out of the cave.
This big thing coming out.
A good shot of him emerging from the cave. It actually holds up pretty well, I thought, watching it.
I thought it looked pretty good.
They fire, but they get nothing in return, and then Iron Man, with a bit of Iron Man voice, goes, my turn. And then he blasts them with these flamethrowers.
Yes.
Iron Man the flamethrower!
Yep, that's exactly what it is.
I don't know how he did all this, but I can suspend my disbelief on it enough.
Well, he has the backpack that does the flamethrower, and it's just attached, so he has to just...
It's just so much.
There's so much.
Firefighters at home. Please let us know how fucking hard it is to walk around with a tank of oxygen on your back.
I've carried it. Remember, we did a competition where I actually had to put on the full fireman's uniform and everything. That thing is heavy.
Yeah.
And they had us run and pull the hose, and it was so heavy.
Oh yeah, we did that. We did an Amazing Race thing. That's right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that all of this stuff didn't start exploding, and then it does start exploding at some point. So I was like, oh, okay.
They got you on that one.
I got me there. They got you there, eh? They start firing at him with larger guns, and one of the leg mechanics gets hit, so the hydraulic is off now, and the fire is engulfing everywhere. So he's like, I gotta fuck out of here. So he presses the thrusters to kind of fly himself out as this huge explosion happens. But as he's going up, his suit kind of craps out.
Yeah, sputters and craps out on him. Mm-hmm.
He lands in the desert and dies. as all the parts fly off of his suit.
Yep, exactly. And then we get a new Tony Stark who finds all the pieces and puts it back together.
I will be the new Tony Stark. It's like Armin Tamzarian and Seymour Skinner. Everyone just acts like he's Tony Stark because they miss him.
That's fine.
Hello, Pepper.
I am Tony.
I'll be down in the garage. Jarvis will tell you the password. So he wanders around in the desert because he wasn't dead. Although it's weird because like Rhodey, this happens to Rhodey in Civil War, and Rhodey's like dying. It's the same. I guess that sand was really soft that he landed in.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's just the way it's built, even, right?
I guess it protected him enough. Yeah. I would be dead at this point. Just kill me.
I mean, he looks beat the hell though, so I mean, it's not even just like.
Like, I can't imagine how long. How long do you think I'd be able to walk in the desert? Folks at home, how long do you think I'd be able to walk in the desert before
Well, you'd have
Kevin's
to find
dead?
water.
Yeah.
So I would give you a couple of days.
All right, I'm going to give myself about 3 hours before something sneaks up on me and bites me on the ass and kills me.
That's true. There's so many things in the desert that will just insta-kill.
It wouldn't even be something fun like a snake. It'd be like some stupid little shit insect or something.
Yeah.
It's like native to like a 3-mile radius and it would just bite my
Right.
foot and kill me.
Get some sort of poison in your blood and done.
They find him though because they were looking for him because you would.
Yeah, so they're
Maybe
just
from
combing
the
desert.
explosion. I thought maybe the explosion did it.
Probably, because they're probably up in the air and they saw like the explosion. Yeah.
I like Ramin Djawadi as a film composer when it comes to Game of Thrones. I never thought this was the best Marvel score, but it works for Iron Man very
It's good.
well. This part I really like that dun 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 as they like
Yes.
find him, that like triumphant
Right.
score.
Mm-hmm.
Rhodey runs up and embraces Tony. Next time you ride with me. That's what he tells him.
Yeah. That's such a friend thing to say, too.
They land back in the U.S. Happy and Pepper are there to greet him. Tony refuses the wheelchair, even though like you could tell he was like sitting in one when he was on the plane, but he doesn't want to like
Right.
have that image coming off the plane.
No, because he always has to hold himself as strong. He's
He gets
always
help.
had to do that.
He gets help off the plane from Rhodey. It's another one of those things where like this is where I think Don Cheadle would have enhanced the scene more. Maybe it's hard to tell between these two with Terrence Howard and Don Cheadle.
Right. Yeah, and how they would have done it instead.
Because I like how
it's like
came
he's
up and
leaning on
hugged
his
Tony.
friend.
Yeah.
Yes. It's that, no, you're actually my friend, and I was so worried. I'm so happy you're alive.
Yeah.
And then it's like, you can lean on me, and I will kind of pretend that you're not, so that you can show how strong you are.
Not to steal one of those riff tracks jokes again, but this is probably the last one I even remember. Oh, there's one more I remember. But this one is Pepper's not going to be happy that those two got married on the plane because of the way that they're like walking off.
Yeah. I like it. She was so tense. You can just see it's just like, oh my God, he's alive.
Yeah. And they get in the car and he says, I want 2 things. The first is an American cheeseburger. And the second, and she goes to like admonish him.
All
'cause she
right,
thinks that,
no.
yeah. He's like, not what you think.
I think he was also half pausing on it to make that joke.
Yes, obviously, yes. He knows he's a showman. He's going to make that joke.
Yes.
And if I ever end up in a cave for 3 months, first of all, I'm dead. Don't bother looking for me. They fucking killed me. But if I do end up in a cave for 3 months and I get out, yes, an American cheeseburger, the greasiest slice of pizza you could find.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the third thing is exactly
Right.
it is what you think. Yeah,
Of course it is. Of course it is.
They go to Stark Industries because he wants a press conference. He's called a press. Who would want a press conference on me? I'm going to do another 4-hour podcast when I get out of that cave and no one's going to care.
See, nobody cares.
Yeah, exactly. We found him. We found Kevin here. See, nobody cares.
See, nobody cares.
They go to Stark Industries. That's on the list, by the way, folks. It's a main event. Don't worry
Oh,
about
of
it.
course
We've got it like
is.
half scheduled already.
Get ready. Get ready. Or if this is in the future, go
Yeah,
listen to it right now.
That's right. They got Burger King. Good choice. I refuse this slander on Burger King, Rachel. Burger King is a quality fast food product.
I think I prefer the chicken though over the burger. It's fine, but I always
Whopper's
prefer...
pretty good.
It's okay, yeah.
It's all right.
It does have that charred taste to it. Which
Yeah.
is supposed... That's their gimmick, I get it.
It's like, is that the flame broiled gimmick or that grilled gimmick? For that joke, reference the Lapsed Fan Podcast, Backlash 2000.
Oh my god.
For fast...
You know what? That's totally fine. I think that's better than a lot of other ones.
Hey, a Munch Madness coming to you sometime in the future, Rachel, will of course be fast food hamburgers. I'm sure we'll do that tournament one
I'm okay
day.
with that. I'll do it. I might surprise myself. I might put that a lot higher than I would think I would.
Press applauds him as he comes in because it's this triumphant return of the prodigal son here. Coulson asks to speak to Ms. Potts. So Agent Coulson comes up. I forgot how early on Coulson is in
just
this.
like
I was like,
immediately.
oh, look at that. There he is.
Yep.
He's from the, I'm going to get it wrong, Strategic Homeland Intervention Enforcement and Logistics Division. Espionage is what it's called in the comics, so I was going to say espionage. And I will tell you now, folks at home, and Rachel, in 2008, I can't even say little Kevin, college Kevin.
Younger Kevin.
Sat in the theater and didn't get it. I didn't get it.
No, because it just kind of rolls away. You didn't, put it together.
No, not until he says, just call his shield, and I went...
And then you went,
Oh!
Yeah. Oh my god! Ultimate Alliance!
Where's Nick Fury? So he needs to debrief him on how he escaped. Tony is on the ground below the podium. This is another Rift Tracks joke, and this, I promise, is the last one that I will ape from them. I love Rift Tracks, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Because when Stane is on the podium and he goes, because he's looking for Tony, and they go, that was a yak. What do you guys want? What do you want me to do next? He lied to Obadiah here because Stane asked him if he had another cheeseburger, and he goes, this is the last one. But then he pulls another one out of his pocket.
Yep. Well, that's his. That's his burger.
Well,
he didn't buy him a burger. It was
he says,
him.
I've only got one more, and that's the one, and I need that one. But then he pulls another one out of his pocket, so he was lying. He had another one. He asks all the press to kneel down during the press conference, which is very strange. And he tells Obadiah...
Well, he's tired. He doesn't want to stand there.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
And he's probably way hurt, more injured than he's letting on.
Oh my god, yes.
He tells Obadiah that he didn't get to say goodbye to Dad. That's the way he says it. So he literally turns and talks to Stane as though he's talking to his uncle.
Yeah,
that's like
really
how
good to see you.
He views him, you know?
Mm-hmm. He's very close to him.
And this is part of this transformation of Tony Stark, where he had no identity. He didn't understand how to feel about himself. He projected himself as the public wanted to see him. Whereas now he is reborn as this new character, this new purpose in life that he's about to announce to the world here. He says he'd ask his dad if he was conflicted about what his company did and what he stood for, or is he the man that they all remember from the newsreels? Which is such a weird way to put it, but then we find out that he was in newsreels. Yeah. Which means that Tony doesn't know even what his father really was like. He only knows the image that Howard Stark portrayed to the public as well, is how he treated Tony. So he's got daddy issues, which is a time-honored tradition for comic book characters. And why would Tony Stark be any different?
Yep, exactly.
Also a time-honored tradition of future Disney characters. He's an orphan, so he also fits that bill.
That's very true.
Isn't it in particular that their moms are always dead?
Yes.
Disney characters? Yeah.
Yes.
Like sometimes their dads will be around, but the moms are all dead.
Correct. Right. Because if you think Cinderella, her mom dies. And then it was just her dad and the stepmom. And then even Ariel, her mom's dead. It's just
Jasmine.
Jasmine, just the dad.
Yeah. Just the dad. That could be a shirt. Like it's a band called Just the Dad, and it's all the Disney princesses.
I thought it was just their dads. I thought it was just all the dads of Disney.
That would also be kind of fun. I'm okay with that too. Either way is fine. A punk rock group with all the Disney princesses that's called
like
Just
it.
the Dads, and it's just all of them. I kind of like that more, but I also like the idea of Just the Dads, like a bowling team, and it's like the Sultan,
Oh my god, a bowling team!
fucking Bambi's dad, and all of
That'd
these
be
other.
amazing.
Anyway, you know, they Disneyfied them all.
It's such a trope. Yeah.
He says that he saw young Americans killed by the weapons that he created. He actually says, that I created. And there's
Right.
been zero accountability. And he has more to offer the world than just the things that blow up. At this point forward, I'm going to shut down the weapons division until I can see what is best for the country and the company. And Stane
Yes.
tries to stop the bleeding and being like, well, you know, the takeaway here is that Tony's back.
Tony's back! Yay!
We cut to Stark Industries, and Stane rolls up on a Segway with a cigar in hand. That, my friends, is baller as fuck.
Yep.
You wanna look like a fucking badass
Be in a suit on a Segway with a cigar.
with a cigar. You want to tell people you got some fucking money. That's the way to
right.
do it.
That's the way.
God damn, that should be some sort of... Where's that TikTok challenge? Rolling around downtown wearing a suit on a Segway with a
The
cigar.
Obadiah challenge.
Yeah, you call it the Stane challenge.
I like it.
I thought that it was very interesting that he has a cigar, Rachel. That tells you that Marvel Studios is still independent. Because those fuckers don't even let Nick Fury have his goddamn cigar anymore.
true.
And that's like
true.
a staple. And you're going to tell me that Samuel L. Jackson, Nick Fury, wouldn't have a cigar? Bullshit.
I feel like he would. He would.
Well, that went well. I always like the way that he says that line. Tony's
Yeah.
looking at the arc reactor. He asks Obadiah, like, what do we think the stock's going to drop? Like 30 points? And he's like, if we're lucky.
Right.
He tells Tony, like, this is not what we do. Like, the arc reactor doesn't work. Your dad and I, like, built the thing just to get, like, the hippies to, like, get off our backs.
Mm-hmm.
To say that we were doing renewable energy, but it's not cost feasible or anything like that. And he tells Tony that we're ironmongers. Get used to it. Tony doesn't want to let that be the answer, though. And Stane says, what we do keeps the world from falling into chaos. And that's his point of view, and that's what Tony's old point of view was. Because Tony is
Right.
like, what I saw was not order. What I saw was chaos. Like, just because you have the weapon doesn't mean that it's not hurting some other innocent or something like
Right.
that. He knows that Tony's got the arc reactor in his chest, and he wants to see it.
Yes.
And Tony's like, okay, who told you? Is it Pepper? Is it Rhodey?
It had to be Pepper or Rhodey, and I think it's very obvious that it would be Rhodey.
Yeah.
Or did neither of them tell him, and it was actually the bad guys?
Oh, that's true. It could have been that, too. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
I like the way that Jeff Bridges plays this when he sees it. It's almost
Yes.
like shock. Immediately buttons Tony's shirt back up. He doesn't want anyone to know or see this. He
Right.
is like,
He
you
looks
know
at
what?
it for like a second, like, Jesus Christ, and then
Yeah,
just
and he's like-
closes it back up.
Tells Tony to lay low. And we immediately cut to Jim Cramer, Rachel, who I think is still on the air, but do I need to explain who Jim Cramer is? Do you know who Jim Cramer is?
I think for the people, the
Okay.
people
Why don't you-
listening,
why
may
don't you
need
give it
to
a-
know.
Yeah. So he might still run this show that was called Mad Money, where he would talk about companies and the stock market and stuff, and he would do these things like they show here, where he would like break glasses and do like sell, buy, you know, that kind of stuff. He would say he's trying to make buying and selling stocks entertaining and inform people at the same time. It's a CNN, MSNBC, Fox News kind of shit where he would do this kind of thing.
Right.
And I think there's a meme on the internet where it's like whatever he says, do the opposite because he's always wrong, which is probably not true, but like that's the joke.
Sure.
But Jim Cramer is telling everyone, so it's a weapons manufacturer that doesn't make weapons, and like hitting buttons and shit.
It's
down-
very obnoxious.
It's down 56 points. So folks at home, if you can get in on that, you really should buy that now.
Buy into Stark Industries. You actually did the blowhorn. I should never have given him a soundboard.
What were you going to say, Rachel? I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No, I was just playing along with your bit. I was saying, yeah, buy into Stark Industries. Like, actually,
it's gonna go up.
It was real.
It's absolutely gonna go up. You gotta buy that
yeah.
dip. Golden hands, or whatever the fucking idiots say.
No idea. I don't like stock stuff. It's stupid.
Pepper is watching, and Tony calls her from the garage, because, like we've said, that's the only place
That's
Tony
where
ever
he always is. Yep.
And asks her how big her hands are.
Which is a weird question.
Hey, 4 months ago, that would have been a very weird question. Now he's just going insane, so who knows what he wants.
That's true.
He's got himself hooked up to this, like, heart monitor on a table.
Yep.
And he asks her to put in the new arc reactor. It's a better version. So he's, like, upgraded it. He thinks that this one will work better, but he needs... Because he was in a cave with a box of scraps.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
He needs her help because there's a wire that's causing a shortage, and he can't get his hand in there to get it out. She takes the old arc reactor, and she's like, what do you want me to do with it?
One.
And he's like, I don't care. It's old.
Destroy
it's not
it,
needed
dump
anymore.
it, who cares? Yeah, it's obsolete.
And they go back and forth very quickly about how this is like a game of Operation.
And she doesn't even know what Operation is, and then he's just like, just don't worry about it, just don't touch the sides.
RDJ is so good at this dialogue. I like the fact that it's like improvised, but get to the point. Because it's like, you say it however you kind of want, we'll do a few takes, and whatever works out best, that's what we're going to go with. Fast-paced character moments. This little scene between these two is so much more dynamic and voluminous, and tells you about these characters, and tells you about Tony, and sets up the third act, and sets up the whole arc of Tony Stark.
Yes. Right.
And all it is them dealing with Tony's heart problem.
Yes.
There's not a fucking laser in the sky, or some stupid quip. It's characters.
Yep.
God damn it. Kevin. Feige. You prick. And the Disney board, for that matter.
That's true.
I remember Secret War. I remember 2015 Secret War. And I don't mind the new editor that you put in charge of the comic books. But the second that Kevin Feige took over, and other than Hickman's X-Men, what the fuck have you had to show for it in that realm either? Get your fucking act together.
Ooh, fighting words.
That's all I'm saying.
That's right.
You want to know how they did this scene, Rachel? Because I saw it and I was like, oh, that's interesting. So there's a scene in the documentary where they show him getting a plaster of Paris of his chest. And I thought it was for the arc reactor. It's for this scene. Because
it's for like a body double type thing?
They had him literally
like
in a chair behind this chest.
Yeah.
This chest is just a prosthetic. Yeah.
Yep.
And then the lighting is done in a way that movie magic works, and you just can't tell where his chest ends and the fake chest begins.
Yes,
and you can't.
They used prosthetics, and then they did some makeup and lighting.
It's pretty
and
seamless.
Boom. Yeah.
You can't tell.
No, it looks great.
She reaches in, and it's gross.
Which she should have taken off her ring. I just gotta say, you're reaching into a magnetic, like, metal thing.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You have your ring on. Take your ring off.
Yeah. Tony should have really
Wash your
told
hand.
her that. Yeah.
Like, something.
Wash your hand. Do something. Do something. It's gross. It works. It's actually kind of like...
Oh, I could imagine.
Like the first time... I remember the first time watching this, like, ooh, like you get tense. It's like kind of a tense scene. She grabs the wire, she touches the side, and she pulls out the copper piece. And
you can see his like heart and everything just like zap.
Yeah, she's like, what does that mean? He goes, well, it's it's fine. I'm going into cardiac arrest. That's all. And she's like,
yes,
okay, it's gonna be okay, Tony, it's gonna be okay. And he's like, well, let's hope so.
Well, then just do it, because that's the only way it could be okay.
She puts the new one in, and it charges him up. It like just, it's like getting however many 1.21 gigawatts of electricity shooting through him.
Yes.
Also on the list. Also a main event. It's fine.
And she's traumatized.
Even like him laughing about it, and her being like, "Don't make me do that again." They feel so natural.
They do.
And I get it. I get that one of these people has an Academy Award, and the other is also a very, very good actor. But still.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where he tells her, like, I don't have anyone else. All I have is you. She asks, like, what do you want me to do with the old one? And he's like, just destroy it, incinerate it.
Yes.
I could see this being one of two things. One, it could be replicated. so he wants it destroyed so that it can't be
Yes.
replicated.
Very true.
And 2, it could be a reminder of him being captured.
Of him being in a cave. I don't want to look at it. It was me in a cave.
Tony Stark deals with PTSD and panic attacks and anxiety throughout the MCU.
Yes.
So, like, this is just the first incident of that.
Right.
So I could see that. I also like the idea that, like, he's not nostalgic, he's innovative. So it's like
that's
framing you
Mach 1,
in
I don't care.
in that personality as well. But I like the idea of, like, it's part of his PTSD. He doesn't want this thing around.
Yes.
What she does with it, though, which we'll get into.
I think that it just elevates it for him into
it makes it something to
light.
like use this as a keepsake to remind you
Yes.
what you are, you know.
Like why you're doing it. Why are you doing this? Why did you decide to change?
Right.
This is the reason right here.
Rhodey is leading some pilots around in an Air Force base. This is a period of time where drones were starting to take off in the military, and he's saying, like, you know, is the future manned or unmanned? Tony walks in and says, how about a pilot without the plane? He starts making fun of Rhodey in front of the guys. He talks about spring break 87. He fooled around with some dude named Ivan, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah,
So,
what was his name when you woke up? Like, Ivan?
Yeah.
And you go, don't tell them that. They'll believe you. And he
Yeah.
starts laughing.
so I guess that means that they were friends from, like,
I think
college.
I'm wondering if was it a college friendship then?
Must have been,
Because
like, a
that's
college
kind of
friendship.
nice then. That's kind of nice. I also
'Cause-
wondered if it was like they grew up on base together because his dad always was with army stuff. So like
Could've
was he a part of that too, where he
Yeah.
was a child of army? Like
There's so many army brats in Marvel.
that's
like,
what I'm
really
wondering.
Marvel.
Like it could just be that too.
I don't know. It's so
I don't
like,
actually know
it's-
I don't know their background.
Yeah. There's probably some animated short or some behind the scenes thing, or the novelization tells you what it is.
Yeah, there's like 2 lines somewhere. There's a
we need to
paragraph.
we need to do an offshoot podcast where we just read the novelization of movies.
I like those though. I enjoy those. I'll do it.
I don't have time. We got to do this all the time. So anyway, he tells Rhodey that he's working on something and he wants him to be a part of it. And Rhodey's like, oh, thank God, because everyone's here been freaking out that we're not going to get Stark weapons anymore. And he's like, no, it's not going to be for the military. And Rhodes gets mad at him. So, like, even Rhodey's like, what are you talking about?
Yes.
Back in the garage, we see the building of Mark II. Jarvis is helping him.
I think it's more so because he thinks Tony is acting without thinking.
Yes.
And
Or
I don't think
still
he's
freaked
mad at him.
out and, yeah.
Right. He's like, no, you're just acting. You're not thinking. You're not thinking this through. And he's just kind of shooting from the cuff or shooting from the hip or whatever the hell I'm thinking.
Shoot from the cuff and the...
I don't know what that meant. Off the cuff, shooting from the hip. I put them together. It's fine.
Whatever. Tony's putting together the Mark II. Jarvis is helping him like his Alfred to Tony's Batman.
Yes.
That is kind of the relationship there. I mean, it is kind of the same thing. The parents were killed. He's rich.
And he makes himself a buddy. One had a buddy growing up. The other one created one.
Do you want to swap butlers for a weekend? We're on the new show Butlers Swap, where
Butler
Tony
swap.
Stark and Bruce Wayne are going to swap their butlers. Oh, dear. Master Stark. I don't know anything about any of this technology stuff. I mostly just give advice and make him his meals.
Yeah, I guess like Bruce would be like, oh, this is actually kind of fun. Like he can help me make stuff.
You can upgrade all this shit and I don't have to listen to your blabber about how I have to be human.
And have a heart. Oh my god.
A secret project, sir. I love the
that.
AI Jarvis.
It's
I love
so
how
good.
I love how snarky he
snarky.
is. He's up there
He
with
programmed
Tars.
him to be snarky. It's great.
My headcanon, which is kind of confirmed by the time we get to Endgame, is that Jarvis was the real butler of the Stark family. And Tony loved him, and when he died, he wanted
He
to
programmed him
have him
into-
around, so he put him as Jarvis.
He's he's not nostalgic. My
There's
ass.
at some point I think they even explain like what exactly, like he's a liar. He is this
Yes.
he tries to hide it. Because I think at some point they even say he's working on 2 AIs. He has Jarvis and then like another one, which turns out to be Ultron in the MCU. but Jarvis is clearly like it could even be like, you know, he's made it take real Jarvis's mannerisms or whatever.
Right. I like that a lot, though. Yeah, he doesn't want everybody to know that he is nostalgic because that looks like a weakness. He doesn't want to show any weaknesses. Seriously.
Yeah. He doesn't want this project to fall into the wrong hands, but maybe in mine, it could do some good, he says. Meanwhile, the Ten Rings are gathering the pieces of the Iron Man armor in the sand, and they find the helmet. Raza has survived, but now he's got the scars.
He's got some crazy sunglasses, too, in this scene.
Raza does?
Yeah.
I didn't notice. Yeah, what is that? Is it like welders' sunglasses for the desert?
It feels that way because it's like both that and the sides.
Yeah. Yeah, they're kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Get yourself a pair of those. Tony tinkers with his robotic arm helper. I never know if we get the name of this robotic arm.
I love him.
He's,
you know, according to the closed captions, it called him Dummy, and I was like,
Dummy. Okay.
That's mean.
I say
because he's such a nice little dude. I like him. He's
basically a puppy, but I mean, I could see Tony calling him. He's like a Wall-E character.
Yes, he's like Wall-E. He creates Wall-E in the future.
That's right.
It all makes sense now.
It does make sense. Why not? Folks
There's
at
a
home
stamp somewhere on Wall-E that says Stark
so.
Industries.
I could see them revealing that at some point.
I could too.
They do a film test of him taking off. So he is a test pilot. He is Howard Hughes at this point. He activates the thrusters and dies. I mean,
he should be wearing stuff that's going to protect his head and everything, and he's not.
It's funny enough. This is good humor, Marvel.
Yes.
But this
is good physical humor.
He'd be dead. Like, he literally, like, rams into the wall with these thrusters. There's then a montage of him building it. Stane has come over, and Potts comes down to tell him that Obadiah is there. And he's got the repulsor hand on, and he's like, it's a repulsor. And he, like, goes to shoot it, and he, like, blows back and hurts himself again.
Yeah, because she's like, is that a weapon? He goes, no, it's not. It's just for stabilization. And then all of a sudden, boom.
Rachel, did you notice the song that Stane is playing on the piano here?
I don't remember what it was.
I mean, I wouldn't expect you to...
Tiptoe Through the Tulips? What is it?
I wouldn't expect you to know it. I don't know it either, but it's a composition by Salieri.
Okay.
Concerto in Do maggiore per pianoforte ed orchestra larghetto. But it's a Salieri piece.
Sure.
Done purposely.
The Salieri part is all I had to hear.
Yeah. I feel like Salieri. That's a Drew Carey show reference. It's one of my favorite lines in television history.
Oh my god.
The analogy, of course, there being, and this was not true, but everyone thinks of it because of Amadeus, which is on the list. Because that is one
Amadeus
of my
would be a good one. I would do Amadeus. Because I even saw the play.
Oh, really?
Amadeus. Mm-hmm. I got to go see it. It was in school.
Oh, interesting. Amadeus, Mozart, and Salieri were, in the movie Amadeus, are rivals, and Salieri is extremely jealous. Mozart is so good at music and is a savant, a wonderkind, and can do all of this stuff without even thinking about it. Salieri had to practice his ass off to even be, like, in his mind, like a fifth as good. Even though people respect Salieri, Salieri knows how much better Mozart is.
He doesn't see it the same. Yeah.
That's what they're setting up here with the Stane and Stark dynamic. Stane thinks he's built this fucking company when Howard died. He had to keep it running.
And tears.
Yeah. And then Tony comes in and just gets to do whatever the fuck he wants because he's Tony Stark, and he doesn't have to think about it.
Yeah.
It's on the nose, but it's not on the nose. Like, it's on the nose if you know it, you know?
Yeah. It's a very subtle reference, and I like that.
He brought pizza back from New York, like we talked about, because he went to talk to the board in New York and then came back here. The board's pissed, of course. Why would they not be? It dropped 56 points. They lost billions of dollars.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
They're going to file an injunction to stop him from having CEO rights. The board has a responsibility to do this. And Tony's like, I have a responsibility. He's like, I'm finally being responsible. And he's like, the company is finally being responsible.
Yes, I did like that. He was like, it's actually very personal for him, and it's not just the company.
he tells him, like, well, can I go see what you're doing? And he's like, no. Stane says, like, fine, I'm going to take the pizza home then. He's like, well, you can take a slice.
But you can have a
piece.
piece.
I liked that
two.
little moment. I thought that was fun. It was very comic booky. But because he's trying to say, like, if you can just tell me what you're doing, I can pitch that to the board and I can get him off of our backs.
Right.
And tell him, like, well, he is working on something. Or let the engineers analyze the chest piece.
Exactly.
He does the test again. Tony does. This time at 1%, because he was doing it at 10% earlier.
It's too much.
It was enough to take him off the ground this time. Doesn't look terrible. The CGI in this does not look terrible. They actually did
I don't
have
think
him,
it looks terrible.
They had him on wires and doing the things with his hands as they pulled him around, but like
sure.
they have CGI to like enhance this thing.
Right.
Admonishes the fire extinguisher robot not to follow him because after he like hit the wall, it blew the fire extinguisher on him.
Yes.
The dummy did. That's the climax of that joke.
I feel like I'm going to be on fire if you
I'm
keep
going to
following
spontaneously get you on fire. Yes.
Yes.
He stabilizes himself and then he comes down and he's like, ooh, I was able to do it. And then dummy like kind of lifts his arm up a little bit and he goes, ah! He like yells at the robot.
Yes.
Good character, that dummy.
I love that dummy.
Was he in Endgame? I feel like he did get a cameo in Endgame, didn't he?
I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember if Dummy gets an Endgame cameo.
If he should have. If he didn't, he should have.
Lost an opportunity right there.
He assembles the Iron Man Mark II armor. This was a little iffy with the CGI, but it worked okay, I thought.
I think so.
Actually, I thought this part actually worked pretty good. It's later on when he's taking it off that I thought was a little iffy. But
that's
putting it on,
where I thought it was the iffiest.
Yeah,
for
this
CGI.
actually looked pretty good.
Yes.
And we get the hub screen for the first time. This was planned by Favreau and company from the beginning, even before RDJ was on board. They were like, this is how you will visualize that you're him inside the suit. You'll see this hub, which I like. I like that.
No, I love that. That's really great.
They've moved that into the comics as well. Whenever you get to see Tony inside the suit, this is how you see it. Jarvis is uploaded into the suit. A good moment seeing the suit assembled. And it looks great. It does look great. It's a great design.
Oh, it's so fun.
It's all silver at this point. So
Right.
you get that Iron Man silver armor. Not unlike evil Iron Man from like 2014. He was evil.
Yeah.
Because something happened. That's a strange, very strange storyline in the comics. Maybe we'll do it one day. This happens at the 1 hour, 2 minute mark. He becomes Iron Man with the Mark II, Rachel. I'll have
That's
you know.
right.
Jarvis wants to do diagnostics before flying, and Tony's like, no, let's just fucking do it. And he's like, very well, sir, whatever. You're not going to listen to me anyway. Takes off and flies out of his garage and into the air. And he's wobbly, and all this Howard Hughes stuff comes in here with this test flight. It looks good. It's a good little sequence.
It does.
It's like the Superman sequence of him flying or anything like that. You know?
Yeah, it's just that first time, the exhilaration of like actually doing something crazy like this for the first time too. He's excited.
Yeah.
He's having fun.
Goes by the Santa Monica Pier. He flies around the city. And then he wants to, and this was like, but it's Tony Stark, so he's of course going to like push the limits even on the first time. He wants to go up into the atmosphere and see if he can go further than the Blackbird's record. But as he goes up, ice starts to cover the suit, and it disrupts the connection that he has with Jarvis, for one, and the arc reactor can't take the ice. So it's kind of like powering down, and he begins to fall. The animation on him falling was good too. He's like all like wobbly and shit.
Oh
like
my god, could you imagine?
And he's able to, he like almost goes to ground level and then like shoots himself back up.
Yes. Oh, there's some tension there. You didn't know if he was just gonna slam straight into the ground.
On the Iron Man outfit, I guess he could have been okay, but
potentially.
I watched.
I think that's when the Brody thing would happen.
The Brody thing?
Yeah, he just loses his ability to use his legs.
Oh, the Rhodey thing. Yeah.
Rhodey.
Yeah.
I said Brody. I'm sorry.
I'm not going in the goddamn suit. I don't even like the water. I'm not gonna Captain Brody from Jaws.
Oh my god.
Also on the list.
Yes, obviously.
Also a main event. So anyway, what was my point? Oh,
I don't know. I missed it.
I once watched a thing where it was like visual designers, video engineer guys, and scientists were talking about the physics of superheroes and when they would die.
Yes.
And they were like, yeah, Tony would be dead because his body would be going at such G forces that planting on the ground or doing the whoosh back up, his brain would be mush. So then they
Right.
like design.
He would
They
have
like
slammed against the
they
back
like
of his skull or
animated it,
whatever
and they
they
like
say
animated it
happens.
with like his like blood like flying out of the suit, like that's it. He's dead.
That's enough. There it is.
He would need to come up with some way to like stabilize his body so it could take the G forces as you like
Sure.
fly without an airplane around you.
Mm-hmm.
He tries to land safely on the roof, but falls through the ceiling, then the piano, and then the car.
Straight onto the car. And the nice blue one.
Yeah, I like
Why
that
did it have
one.
to be the pretty blue one?
Looked like something you'd buy in Grand Theft or steal in Grand Theft
Oh,
Auto.
I would have. That's the one I would have probably stolen.
Also on the list, by the way. The robot hits him with a fire extinguisher. Need to make sure that we've got these on the list, Rachel. I'm just saying.
Yep.
It's the end of Volume 5. You realize that.
We got to plan for the future. Plan for the future.
Wave of the future.
Wave of the future.
Speaking of Howard Hughes. So, see, we're tying it all back.
Oh
I know
my
what I'm
God.
fucking doing, Rachel. I'm a professional goddamn podcaster. The robot hits him with a fire extinguisher when he falls to the car. Good
Yes,
humor.
very funny. I liked that.
He's walking around with an ice pack on because he hurt himself falling through the roof.
I would imagine, yeah.
He sees the gift from Pepper because Pepper had left it there earlier. And it's the last piece of memorabilia that I want.
I know we need it.
Folks at home, for those of you that can't see me
It's
visually.
so cool.
I have.
It's so cool.
I have my Avengers memorabilia like the Maestro does on my side of the Shelf Life Studios, where I've got my Captain America shield that is
Yes.
extremely authentic.
Oh, it's so pretty. And it's
my-
heavy. It's great.
Mjolnir. I've got
Of
Mjolnir hanging up.
course. Of course.
It's also heavy.
yes.
And then and Rachel had to be reminded of this because I was like, oh, because I said, should I do the entire podcast with my Iron Man helmet on? Because I have an Iron Man helmet.
I forgot you can actually put it on. Because
And
it's
you
like,
can put it on and it turns on and it
Yes.
makes you sound like Iron Man. And
So
I was
cool.
like, I kind of want to put it on the entire show and just do it that way. He sees this piece of memorabilia, though, which is one that I do not have, which is the arc reactor in the case. And she
yes.
got engraving around it on the metal that says proof that Tony Stark has a heart.
Yeah.
Very nice. And like you said,
Oh,
Rachel,
it's
now
so
it's
sweet.
now it's a piece for him to remember, one, him at his lowest,
Right.
but what he's doing this for, that he now has a heart.
Exactly.
This is proof of it. Meanwhile, the Ten Rings are putting together the suit scrap parts, and Raza's smoking.
Just a
Surprised that Disney didn't cut this out of the film. Rachel, did you see this on Disney Plus? I have my 4K.
I
but
did.
Is he
Yeah, it's
smoking?
there. Yeah, it's just sitting there.
I'll be damned.
Cruella DeVille smokes.
Of course she does. We've termed a phrase about it.
The DeVille. But at the same time, like, they didn't take that out. I'm just saying.
Jarvis is snarky at him. He's evaluating stuff because they're trying to come up with like he tells him to like put a gold alloy over it.
Mm-hmm.
I think because he thinks that will help the ice. I think that's the purpose of it having
That
the
might
gold
be.
alloy.
That sounds about right.
As he's doing this, he has the TV on and he sees a story on the news. I think it's really like Entertainment Tonight or something like that about how there's a banquet at the Disney Hall. Ironically enough,
Yes.
it's a benefit that the Stark Industries puts on, but they don't expect Stark to be there because he's had this bizarre behavior ever since he's come back. It's like, Jesus, yeah, if I was stuck in a cave for 3 months by terrorists,
I don't know if that's bizarre.
I'd have
Yeah.
some bizarre behavior.
I'm bizarre.
Oh, you think he...
I couldn't do it.
It's a
couldn't
main
do it
event,
fully.
folks.
I'm bizarre.
This is what you get. This is what you're getting with the start of the Marvel Universe, for sure, because we're just pulling everything together here.
Yes.
This is a celebration of shelf life here at Volume
That's
5.
right.
As he sees the diagram of what the Iron Man armor is going to look like if it's all yellow, Tony goes, "This is a little ostentatious, don't you think?" And Jarvis goes, "Yes, what was I thinking? You're usually, so discreet." What a line.
Yeah, he wants a low profile. Add some hot red to that.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, that'll keep a low profile.
He's also drinking this disgusting green juice.
Well, because it's
I'm
supposed
assuming
to
it's
be
just
like...
a smoothie. I'm assuming it's for his heart, but at the same time,
I thought it was like trying to show that, yeah, like it's an RDJ thing where it's like, okay, if I'm not going to be on drugs, like you got to
He's
just
being
keep
healthy.
drinking this like gross algae shit.
like when
So
I
I
have a
thought-
smoothie, if you put like spinach or something in it, it kind of turns green, but this is like green.
It could be
don't
for
know
his
what's
heart.
in it.
I thought they're trying to portray that he's trying to keep his alcoholism at bay.
Oh, that's a good idea. I like that. Okay. I just figured it was like he's trying to be healthy in more ways than one.
Yeah, I'm sure that could be it too. He decides to go to the banquet, so he takes the car out again. He drives like an asshole. Stane is giving an interview on the steps. Jeff Britt is looking mighty
Suave.
It's a good
Yeah.
way to say it. He's in black tie, but he's got that sweet
He's got that thing around
scarf.
his neck.
And I kept
Yeah.
thinking, is this like an OB in the comic books look? Is that because he
Maybe, because it's so much.
Hang on, Obadiah.
It looks like a villain costume.
I never see him with a scarf around, but a scarf makes him a natural villain, like MJF.
I think it does.
You know,
I
you
think
got
it
that
does,
scarf
too.
on. Just makes you a
Absolutely.
villain. And
Tony
as Tony,
spots Hef.
oh yes, this is our Stanley cameo as Hugh Hefner. I like that one
Yeah, that one's funny.
because he doesn't say anything.
Nope. Turns around, there he is.
There is a partial
Blink and
deleted
you miss
scene.
it.
There's a partial deleted scene where he actually tells Tony, like, "Oh no, I get that all the time." So that was like his line. But I like this where he
Right.
just turns around and is like, "What?" The documentary shows him Stanley like sitting there like with the girls as they're like just like waiting to go on. And John Favreau walks up and is like, "Who's your favorite Marvel director now, Stan?" He's like, "As far as I'm concerned, John Favreau's the only Marvel director, unless some other director's able to get me 6 girls."
Oh my god.
It's just such Stan, like, it's Stanley, you know?
Yeah.
There's also a little bit where he's talking to RDJ, and he just goes, "Oh my god, it's like I'm talking to Tony Stark." It's like, and Robert Downey's just laughing because Stanley's just like, "It's him. It really is him. You are Tony Stark. It's unbelievable." He was impressed from the beginning of that.
Yeah, I mean, could you imagine being RDJ? Like, you're in the middle of recording and then that happens. You're just like, you know what? I feel like I'm doing something right then.
Yeah, I gotta be doing something right. Yeah. Tony's like, "Don't worry about it. I just had cabin fever. I just,
Yeah, you just need
needed
to
to
get
out of
out.
the house." He goes to the bar, and Coulson's waiting for him at the bar because he's a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. I guess he can just be wherever he wants to be. He
I
tells
would
him.
imagine.
He tells him the name
He
of
probably thought he was going to show up.
I think he was trying to get Pepper, and Tony just happened to be
Oh,
there.
that's true. He's just always going for Pepper because Pepper is the... Yeah, that makes sense.
He tells him, I'm with the Strategic Homeland Intervention Enforcement and Logistics Division. And Tony goes, "You got to work on that name." He spots Pepper and tells Coulson, yeah, whatever. I'll make an appointment. I'll go tell my assistant to make an appointment.
Right
here.
now.
Make a date.
Yeah.
Gwyneth Paltrow, Pepper Potts wearing this backless dress.
Looks fantastic.
She does. And
does.
I do not like Gwyneth Paltrow because I think she's a weirdo.
She's so weird.
But she is a
But
good
she looks
actress.
good. Pepper. This is
She's
Pepper.
good at Pepper
Pepper
Potts.
looks fantastic.
There are worse people that I have praised on this show before. So
Sure. She's just weird. She's just a wacky individual.
yeah, just fucking crazy.
I
Not gonna
just
buy
wouldn't
your
listen
fucking
to her.
vagina candle.
That's just not safe. Don't do that. Don't do that. That's
Oh no,
gross.
you're right, because she also has a thing to put in your vagina.
Yes, she also has a thing to put up it. Don't do
That's
that.
right. I forgot.
That's
I was
bad.
talking about literally the one that
I know.
smells
Then
like
I
a
realized that. I
vagina.
went, "Oh yeah, she does have a vagina candle." I did the
Yeah.
opposite. She's weird.
Yeah, she's. really
Anyways,
fucking
Pepper
strange.
looks great.
But Pepper
Let's
looks
talk
good.
about Pepper.
Yeah. They have this quippy back and forth, and then he asks Pepper to dance, and they slow dance, and she's like super awkward about it. Very well done here. She's like, "I'm dancing with my boss in front of everyone that I work with in a dress with no back." So
Yeah, but she also says that that dress was the one that he bought for her birthday.
yes.
Yep.
They're doing the quip back and forth, and she's like, "Oh, really? What's your social security number?" And he's like, 7.
So-
Well, oh, did I hear 7? Yes, I'm here as well.
Great. Not 007. Get out of here. He probably would be here though.
Of course I would be.
Yeah,
I'm
he's
at the bar
undercover.
with the
He has his
martini.
martini. Mm-hmm.
Whoever Tony doesn't take home, 007. Really.
I'll take the rest.
He says that he's got Pepper to remember everything else, so he doesn't have to remember his social security number. They dance awkwardly, and they eventually go outside. They're like, let's get some air. She's pissed at him. That's why she wanted to take him outside so she could yell at him.
Well, yeah, because it's just like, this was stupid. Why did we do this? Everybody saw, and they're
Everyone
think
knows
that...
how you are with girls, and you're my boss. That's okay. It's okay. But
that's fine that you are like that, but you can't be like that with me. That's not going to happen. We're not going to do that. Like... And I don't want them to think that I'm like that.
Awkward silence, which is the international sign of a kiss in movie language.
Yes, because they got really close.
They lean in for the kiss after the awkward silence, and then nothing. She wants a drink, extra olives, extra dirty. Just like
extra dry.
Like at least 3 olives. Did they get a martini?
What?
Was it a martini that she asked for?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Oh, so you like martinis, do you?
Very dry, with many olives.
Sounds like someone that I would have in one of my wacky adventures, Pepper Potts. He spots Christine coming toward him and freaks out. RDJ does a really good job of reacting to seeing her, and then seeing her walking toward him, he's like, God damn it. And I couldn't tell if it's just, it's this fucking girl again, or if it's, I can't remember her name, and she's walking toward me. So he even does the... Christine, right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What do you have to say for yourself? Or how are you feeling right now? And he goes, panic, I think. So she says, no, not about this atrocity, your company's latest atrocity. And he makes a quip about how, like, look, they just put my name on the invite. I didn't have anything to... And she's like, no. And she shows him pictures of this ransacked town that has Stark technology missiles all over it. And she says, it's a town called Gulmira. Have you heard of it?
Yeah.
Of course he remembers it, because it's Yinsen's hometown. Yep. They probably went and trashed it because of Yinsen.
Oh, you think?
Don't you?
Oh, that might be why. That makes a lot of sense.
They probably went and killed his family, kidnapped him.
Yes.
And they were like, if you don't do this, we're going to go back and we're going to
go destroy
murder your
town.
whole town. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Right?
I think you're right. And he thought Tony was going to be able to take at least some of them out so that they wouldn't go do it.
Yeah. That if he took them out, then they wouldn't do it.
Oh, that's so devastating.
So
I like Jensen. I always have.
Jensen's a good mentor, and it parallels again. And I'm going to say the same thing when we do Captain America, but I have no idea what order you people are going to listen to this to. It parallels with Cap's mentor in Erskine, Stanley Tucci, in that movie. You know, they both have a mentor, scientist guy that helps them, that dies, and then the last one. And both actually point to their heart when they're dying.
That's also true.
For all of the MCU's faults, they make damn sure that Captain America and Iron Man are the parallels of the story.
That's very true.
From the beginning. That's all done very well until Endgame. So
yeah,
because I would not say that they're doing a very good job of that now. Who's the main character?
No, I don't know. I don't really know I don't know.
Who the fuck is the main character?
It's true. I don't know who the main character is. Like, I just feel like they're trying to figure out who the main character is themselves. They just keep putting somebody else in the front. Like, is this it? What do you guys think of this one?
I truly think they were going to have it be Sam, Carol, and T'Challa.
Oh, yeah. I think that was the plan.
That's why I really think it should be Sam and Bucky, and then you could...
I think they wanted to do that, but I feel like they shied away from it because they're like, oh, well, we just need to push in as many characters as possible with this other stuff, and then it's just like, you lost the plot. Where are you going with this?
It's okay to have an ensemble, as the first 23 movies in this thing will tell you, but there still were main characters.
Right. You even knew they were your mains. You knew they were your main characters.
Even if you did it by accident, we're telling you how you paralleled these. They were your main guys.
Right.
And he goes and he confronts Obadiah.
Yes.
And Stane is like, you're being naive, Tony, on how this works. And he's like, are we double dealing? Are you giving weapons to terrorists?
Right.
And Stane tells him, let's take a picture. So they're taking a picture for the press, and he goes, who do you think put the injunction against you? He's
finally showing his hand.
Yeah, and he's like, that's the only way I could protect you. And he walks away, and then Tony stands there in disbelief. The behind-the-scenes stuff that I've seen of this, Rachel, is pretty good because it's RDJ, Jeff Bridges, and John Favreau working this out and, like, framing this. The three of them are, like, he's, like, the old... It's like a boxing match, right? It's, like, the young guy and the old guy, and they're, like, standing off. And the old guy, like, Jeff Bridges, is going to be, like, this little shit. I'm going to finally get to, like, punch this little shit with, like, the truth here. So then, like... RDJ's like, are you fucking doing this? Like, he literally was saying, like, are you fucking serious right now? Like, doing it like that.
Yeah.
And then Jeff Bridges does the grab like he does in the movie where he, like, grabs him by the shoulder and is like, Tony, like, what do you, like, so, like, they were, it's just fun to see them working that out and, like, what kind of stayed, you know, as, like, but that's the framing of it, where they're like, John Favreau was like, you finally get to tell this little prick off after, like, 20 years.
That's true.
Christine just walks away, too, which I thought was weird. But I guess...
Well, she looked, like, angry, and then she was just, like shook her head and walked away.
Like, I don't believe
like, they're
this.
not
Like,
going to do anything about this. Yeah.
There's a news report about the Gulmira people, the refugees that are being, like, led away from their homes now. And he's tinkering on the Iron Man armor as he's watching this. And he sees that it's the 10 rings.
Right.
And then, symbolically, he gets up. It's got 5 credited writers, so who knows who did what piece of this damn screenplay. It's why I haven't really talked about who wrote it, because, like, who fucking knows? He shoots the arm as a test, and it blows up half his stuff. So then he turns towards the glass wall.
Yes.
Like, that is the entrance to the garage, and he holds it up, looking at his reflection, and he shoots it, which I think is symbolic.
I think it is, too.
Pissed at himself, pissed at the man that he's, you know, he was.
That
so he's like shooting himself with the
because he was blind to it. He was blind to all of this, and he didn't care.
Right,
he
didn't
was.
Care. Yeah,
and it was like, how could I do that?
The armor goes on around, pretty good. This effect was pretty good too.
The on was better than the off.
The on is better than the off. Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
You know why it looks good though, too, Rachel, for 2008? Because they gave the visual effects guys some fucking time to make it look good.
That's true. Yeah. You gotta be nice to your people who are doing visual effects, because
like
it takes so much effort and time and energy to make it look good.
You can tell when it looks... This is the prime example of little details would make the damn thing look better. Because of that kind of stuff. They harangued on the visual effects people, even at, like, the fucking Oscars. Jimmy Kimmel's shithead is making jokes about the visual effects people, and it's like, they're keeping you guys in fucking
about their
business.
boss.
Like,
Talk about their bosses.
They're
the ones that are like...
They're the only thing that, like, keeps all of this going, and they get paid like shit. They have no time to do any of this stuff.
Right.
And if you would give them a little time... everything would look and seem better.
Yes, because it's not their fault that it's rushed. They're forced to rush it.
It's bullshit.
And that's a problem. That is a huge problem.
He flies to Afghanistan as Iron Man, and they're bombing and looting this town. The other guy, Omar or Ahmed, I can't remember what I said his name was, the professional wrestler-looking dude, is there, and he's leading the troopers there. There's a family that they focus on for a second. We see this dad being he's going to be taken to a wall and get shot with, like, the other, like, adult males of this group. But Abu
Bakr.
Ah, that's right. Okay. His, like, son won't let him go, so they beat him on the ground.
Yes.
Violent scene.
This is very, like, violent.
They're going to shoot. Yeah. This is graphic. They're going to shoot him, but the Iron Man lands and does that Iron Man ding landing.
Yes.
And then in a scene with very, very little dialogue, they shoot at Iron Man and he just goes ham, murdering terrorists left and right with his repulsors.
It's great.
The highlight being putting his arms down because they've taken human shields, and he tracks them all with his armor, and he just shoots them with, like, bullets out of his shoulder.
It's all like they pinpoint it, so he doesn't have to put anybody in danger. He
walks over and grabs this guy through a wall and then leaves him for the townspeople, and we get to hear him speak as Iron Man as he flies away, and he goes, "He's all yours," and in that Iron Man voice. And then he gets shot down by a tank.
Yes!
The sound effects, very good in this scene.
I do like the sound. Yes, because it's all like the mechanical parts moving.
The tank misses the second shot. Tony's learning how to be Iron Man throughout this whole movie.
Absolutely,
because it's like how he dodged the one shot earlier in the Mark I. It's a similar, he does the same kind of motion, and then he does the walk away from explosion like a cool guys walk away from explosions. So he like shoots at the tank and then walks away slowly from.
It's like a sticky bomb or something.
There's no reason why he didn't just fly away. It's only for this beautiful trailer shot of him walking away like a badass, and then he goes back in the air and he starts taking out all the missiles. which then chain react, and the rest of their camp blows up, and he flies away. Really good scene.
It's so good.
And there's one line from Robert Downey Jr. You never see the hub. You never hear him and Jarvis talking about what to do. It is all just, if you were to see Iron Man
It's pure
land,
emotion.
this is
just
what you
him
would see.
doing it. Yep.
At Edwards Air Force Base, though, they say they couldn't get into that region because they were using human shields. And now they're like, but
Which is
something
fair.
did, and it's blowing up the area. So, like, they were well aware of it.
Yes.
They see a bogey on their radar, but they're like, is that ours? Like, what is this?
Like, what is it? It's
So,
something
like,
small and fast.
Call Rhodes, because he's in weapons development. Maybe it's something that we just don't know about. They think it's unmanned. And
they think it's a drone.
They think it's a drone. So Rhodes is like, let me call Tony, because he came to the office a couple of weeks ago and was talking about doing something.
He
So
had a project.
he calls him, and he's like, why can't I hear you? Like, what is that noise? And he's like, I'm driving with the top down. And he's out of breath. And he's like, I'm jogging in the canyon.
I was jogging in the canyon. I was driving to
the canyon.
To run.
And he asks Tony if there's any tech in that area that he should be known about. And he's like, no, I don't think so. And he's like, great, because I'm about to blow the fuck out of it with these fighter jets.
It's what's in the air right now. I'm about to blow it down.
So
and
we get
he's
a
like,
we get a dog
he doesn't want
fight.
to tell him.
Right. We get a dog fight between Iron Man and these Raptor fire jets. But
He
it
even,
does not
brakes hard to
Yeah. Well, it
just
knocks
get
Tony
away from
off, and
them.
then he brakes hard, and they're like, "What the fuck is this thing?" That
Oh, and then he hides on the bottom of one
That's
of
great.
the planes.
yeah, that's
He's
great.
just hiding there, and the guy goes, "It's shaped like a man." Like, what the hell?
Well, and then Tony calls Rhodey back and is like, "It's me," and he's like, "I knew it was you. Don't put shit in the middle of
No,
an active
it's-
war zone."
It's literally me.
Yeah. They try to shake him off. So eventually he does kind of get shaken off, but then he takes a wing off at the same time of the other fire jet.
accidentally. Mm-hmm.
So then the pilot needs to eject, and the chute is stuck. Rhodes tries to call it off, realizing that it is Tony, but they're like, the thing took out a Raptor. We don't know what this thing is. We need to take it out. We'll figure it out later. He ends up getting the chute to deploy for the guy, flies away, while the army is distracted by the fact that they say the guy's safe.
Right.
Because his parachute was jammed, and Iron Man flies down and punches it out.
Yeah, so he saves him.
And he's like, well, what am I supposed to do, to cover this up? And he's like, I don't know, just say it's a training exercise like you usually do. Cut to Rhodey going, an unfortunate accident during a training exercise. Stane is watching this.
Oh
like
my
an
God,
evil
his
rich
house.
guy lair. Go ahead.
Did you
Rachel.
look at his house?
Go ahead.
You just have to pause at this crazy looking house. One, he's wearing his fancy satin pajamas with a robe.
I thought it was velvet.
He's got a
but...
fire. Well, something is soft over there. It's the great material. He has a fire going. There are statues everywhere. There is a zebra print rug. There is this crazy looking golden chess set. This is nuts.
Yeah, this is
He
an
is,
evil rich
in a
guy's
lair.
house.
It's
definitely
dark. Yeah.
It's very purple. The whole thing is very purple. Back in the garage, Potts comes down and sees him taking the armor off, and
Sees really bad CGI of Tony.
That doesn't look great. Yeah, that didn't hold up as much. He does have a good line though, where he says, "Oh come on, this isn't the worst thing you've caught me doing."
It's a good one.
The Ten Rings camp gets a visit from a bunch of dark vans. Inside one of the vans is Obadiah. Dun dun dun.
Done. Do you want
And
me
he
to put
has
the
a
actual
chat-
sound effects?
He has a chat with Raza.
I thought you were about to say the Mandarin.
I wrote down pseudo Mandarin in my notes because I didn't know his name was Raza.
That's funny.
Stane goes, if you killed him when you were supposed to, you'd still have a face. And Raza tells him, well, you gave us trinkets to kill a prince. I like that line. Raza, very
is a good
theatrical, but I liked
Yeah,
it.
very. Mm-hmm.
He tells him he wants to see the suit. So they go in the tent, and he shows him the suit. And Raza's like, you want to claim Stark's throne? I want an Iron Man. Let's do business here. I'll give you these designs, but as a gift, I want Iron Soldiers. I want my own Iron Men.
Okay.
Stane paralyzes him with some sort of illegal radio
this is, like, crazy.
transmitter weapon.
Yes.
They should have brought this back at some point. Maybe they do.
It feels like they do, but I don't remember. I feel like S.H.I.E.L.D. even would confiscate this and use it.
Well, it's
for
just
some reason.
it's so illegal. Oh, no,
Right.
maybe they don't. Anyway, we'll find out. It is this, illegal radio transmitter thing where he tells him, don't worry about it. Just leaves you paralyzed for 15 minutes. And then walks out of the tent. And his guys have rounded up all the rest of the remaining 10 rings that haven't been murdered. And they murder him. And he takes the armor. So it was like a fake villain, kind of, Raza. It's a twist.
He is a villain, but the bigger villain.
Yeah, it's like a twist, like a bigger villain came along.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we learn that he wants to make a prototype. He tells it to get it to the engineers.
Right.
Tony asks Pepper to go into the Stark Industries. It's not Stark Enterprises. It's Wayne Enterprises. It's Stark Industries. Stark Industries mainframe to find shipments that went to Afghanistan, so he can figure out who's who's doing this. And he's basically become obsessed until getting rid of these weapons. He's because Pepper's trying to say you don't have to do this. You're going to get yourself killed, and there's other ways you could do this. We could try to do this legally. We could work with Obi, and he's like, no, I'm getting rid of these weapons. That's the only thing on my mind. A bit of Batman here out of Tony, I thought. That obsession with the justice in his mind.
Exactly.
What comes out of a gun?
Injustice.
Pepper says that she's going to quit, and he's like, after everything I've done, after all of the shit you have seen me do, this is why you're going to quit?
Mm-hmm.
And he persuades her because he says, I shouldn't be alive, and I should, unless there was a reason for me to be alive, and I think I know what that reason is, and I just want to do right. And she's swayed by this, and she's like, okay, fine, I'll do it. And she says, you're all I have, too. Because, all I have is my work, because I'm your assistant. Of course that's all I
Right, that's
have.
all I do. Mm-hmm.
She goes to the office and goes into Tony's office. Tony first of all, he probably has had a lot of sex in this office.
Oh,
but
probably.
A modest office for being Tony Stark.
Because he's never there.
That's... Yes, I
never
agree.
needs to be there.
Yeah, you're right. He's never there.
He's there to make an appearance. He sits down, twiddles his thumbs, clicks clack on the keyboard, and then leaves to go back to his...
and to sleep with some chick.
Right, exactly.
I assume. He would have been Me Too'd. Right?
Oh, 100%. Probably.
She finds
maybe. Yeah. Sexual harassment, I would think.
Sexual harassment. Yeah, I'm not saying something like that.
Nothing further. Just harassment.
To that level, but yeah.
I feel like this is more his office, his dad's office, too.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. He never goes in there because it's the dad's office.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that's part of it.
Howard Stark definitely would have been Me Too'd. Let's...
Yeah.
So she finds a ghost drive. She finds the ghost drive, which has a bunch of stuff on the missile on it, and then the Iron Monger suit is on there too. And then in the most unrealistic part of a movie about a man that makes a AI robotic suit that flies around and shoots missiles from it and has a thing in his chest, she pulls up the Stark video, is in a folder, and she presses the translate button. It's very convenient.
Maybe Tony created a translator.
I guess nowadays we have
we do have a lot of stuff like that.
If you stick your phone in front of somebody speaking a different language, you could translate it for you.
Which is kind of cool. There's new technologies like that, so you could actually have a conversation.
Yeah, so I guess in the world of Stark Industries, it's not that far-fetched. Fine.
It is a little silly, because it also does it in his voice and accent and everything.
Yes, yeah, a little bit.
So
it gives away that Stane set up Tony, though.
Mm-hmm.
She starts copying the files, but then Obadiah shows up. He's more menacing now, of course. He's like, what are we going to do about this? Tells Pepper, I know what you're going through. There's actually some character development for all three of these characters here. Because
there is.
He pours himself a drink, and then she shields the thumb drive by, covering it with a newspaper. And she puts the screensaver on before he moves around the corner.
Right.
But he goes I was so happy when I heard that. Jeff Bridges is really good in this scene.
It is a very good job.
Because he doesn't play a villain that often either. He's usually a hero. So, like, seeing him played like the villain is interesting. I was so happy when Tony came back, but he never really did come home, did he? Part of him stayed in that
Still in
cave.
that cave.
Which is true. Like, that
is very true.
Very real. It almost could have worked if Stane didn't set him up. If this could have been motivation for Stane to turn on Tony.
To turn heel. Because
Yeah.
he's just like, the part of him I liked is still in that damned cave.
Yeah, my son didn't come back, kind of
right.
thing.
Mm-hmm.
Which would have been interesting too. Like, that's how you could have turned him. Like, he could have contacted the Ten Rings and like
right
done it that way too. I don't know. Maybe that would have been better. I don't know. Folks at home, let me know.
It could have been interesting. I would want to see how that would work out.
Yeah. It almost would have been like the Raza and company would have been the first villain, and then
yes.
But if they somehow got Iron Man equipment, like they make the Crimson Dynamo or something like that, and that's how you would have that would have been the final battle. And then the second one, Tony's like, who supplied this? And Stane is still there, and then Justin Hammer's there, so he thinks it was Hammer, and then it turns out it was actually Stane. Like, that's how you could have done it,
and that's how you could have flopped it. Yeah. That could have been interesting.
Could have worked. It could have made Iron Man 2 a little better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause that was a little weak.
Pepper tells Obi that he's a complicated person, and Obi says, "You're a very rare woman." Very creepy.
Gross line. And she just is like,
yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
This cannot be what their dynamic usually is, because like they were just at the house eating pizza, so like he has to know.
She was just working and he was playing the piano and eating pizza. Yeah, they both know. He knows she knows, and she knows he knows,
and she knows like, he knows.
Exactly.
She grabs the paper and the thumb drive and heads out, and he's like, "Oh, is that today's paper? Puzzle." So she exits, and he says, "Take care." It's very much like his yak sound.
In the creepiest way.
Take care now. That's gonna be the end credit thing. He knows something's up, so he goes over to the computer and realizes that something was downloaded.
Yes.
She's like trying to get the fuck out of there before Obi can stop her, and Coulson's there because he's like, we made an appointment.
Because he's just constantly there.
Yeah, and tells, your job is to go there every fucking day and wait to get a goddamn interview with fucking Tony Stark. That's what Nick told him.
I could see it. I could absolutely see it. But she, like, grabs him and goes, yep, walk with me. You're going to get your interview right now. We're going to go to your office.
Yes, exactly. Stane goes to Sector 16. Sector 16? It's a South Park thing. Don't worry about it.
God damn it.
Sector 2. They can't figure out the arc reactor, and this is, Rachel, where we get a cameo. And joining the Two Timers Club, Peter Billingsley, everyone! He gets the rare same volume Two Timers Club. Peter Billingsley does. That's fun. Peter Billingsley wanted to make a cameo but didn't want to be so obvious, so he told Jeff Bridges he'd shave his head too, and they did it. He looks
ridiculous.
Male pattern baldness shape, so he's got the ring around his head.
You can't even tell it's him.
You cannot tell it's him. I didn't know
you don't know it's him at all. I didn't know until you just said it.
They can't figure out the arc reactor. They say that the tech doesn't exist. And he's like, it's right here. It's You just need to make it smaller.
Tony Stark was able to build this in a cave with a box of scraps.
So he admonishes Peter Billingsley for doing this, which they do have come back in the MCU, that this little interaction here. But a beautiful line of shouting at this man about the box of scraps.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
Do you want to do your own, Rachel?
What?
Your Tony's
the Stark
built
line?
Built this in a cave.
Tony Stark built this in a cave with a box of scraps.
Yeah, there you go. Very nice.
I feel slightly rude.
Peter Billingsley goes, well, I'm sorry, but I'm not Tony Stark. Really good line.
It is a good line.
That comes back to the idea that I'm not Tony Stark. That gets repeated by Obadiah, maybe? Like later on in this movie? And it gets repeated in the MCU at different points, too. Because this is Obi's breaking point. This is where he's like, I don't know what else I can do here. Now I have to, like, take it from him.
Right.
Tony's at home just hanging out. Pepper calls him, but as he answers, the radio frequency thing paralyzes him again. So Stane is there and paralyzes him. And he says, well, you know, when I put the hit on you, I was worried that I was killing the golden goose. And he extracts the arc reactor from Tony's chest.
He takes it out.
Which looks like it hurt Tony, but since he can't move, now he's in cardiac arrest again.
Right, I think that's part of it. Yeah, he looks creepy with the paralyzer on.
Yes.
His skin.
He's got the veins. Yeah.
He gets so pale and veiny, and he looks like E.T.
You like dying E.T.?
Like dying E.T. No, we can't.
If Rhodey would have found him on the bathroom floor going, Mom! It's just E.T. and Tony laying on the floor, and Elliot's there for some reason and just goes, we're dying. You really think because you have an idea, it belongs to you? Which is a good villain line.
That is a good villain line. I like it.
And tells him that, like, his dad invented the A-bomb. What kind of a world would this be if Howard was as selfish as Tony is? So Stane truly believes that the weapons do good. Like, the weapons keep the world at peace. That's
right.
That's his
he really does
perspective.
Think that.
He unplugs the reactor.
It's the twisted villain ideals.
Which is nice. Like, a villain should think that they're right. He tells Tony that the arc reactor is his masterpiece. It's his 9th symphony, which I think is a Mozart reference again. It's his legacy. Legacy is also a big part of this, too. Throughout the Iron Man movies, because of Howard. Like, the legacy of the Starks. Anyway, the next generation of weapons, with this at its heart, will put the balance of power in the world in the right hands again. He puts it in his briefcase and he goes, yeah, I'm making a prototype. It's not as conservative as yours. I didn't want to kill Pepper, but now I have to.
It's like horrible.
So Stark is having a slow heart attack, basically.
Yes.
Pepper calls Rhodey, tells him the story, and Tony's not answering.
Right.
We see part of the S.H.I.E.L.D. logo in this scene, Rachel, when their S.H.I.E.L.D. agents are walking. You see the old S.H.I.E.L.D. logo. Not the updated one that they would make for the MCU that looks like more like a very sharp edges. This one looks like the comic book one with the eagle.
With like the eagle with it. It's like a little bit more spread out. Yes.
Tony gets down to the garage, but is dying and sweating profusely.
Oh my god, yes.
Robert Downey Jr. looked like this a lot in the 90s and early 2000s, I think.
Sadly, probably.
This was just a Tuesday afternoon for old Robert Downey Jr., which was consequently the young Robert Downey Jr. REJ, if you're listening, you can call in. We don't have a call-in portion, but you can join us.
I would be down for that.
He'd be more infuriating to do a podcast with than The Rock, Rachel.
I would
because
imagine.
Because he would take over and we would not get a fucking word in.
That he can have the episode. That's totally fine.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll do something really low stakes. We'll do like the Iron Man cartoon or something. He'll be on a Saturday morning Shelf Life episode.
Saturday morning with Robert Downey Jr.
We would do that too. If we got like Robert Downey Jr. to be on the podcast, we'd be like, we're gonna do the 1960s Iron Man. It's Tony Stark or whatever. Yeah. No, we would do something even dumber. We would do like Street Sharks or something with Robert.
Oh my
Downey
god,
Jr.
yes. It has nothing to do with anything. I like it.
He has the old reactor, so he spots it. And he's like, "Oh, good, I can put that in my chest." Because he's like, he's just going down to the garage, like I have to figure out something. He crawls to it as his heart gives away, and he can't quite make it. And he looks dead on the floor.
Yeah, he's just dying.
And then Dummy
comes.
Do you want this? Because he's like,
you were reaching for it. I got it for you.
Yeah, so like hands it to him. Good moment. Good way to bring the arm back. He even says "good boy" because the arm is kind of just a puppy.
Because if he looks up at it and it has like a face, it has the face,
it does the little,
and
like,
it does the claw, and it's like whoop 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 whoop.
Stane is staring down the Iron Monger, which I never realized is the Mark 1 suit dolled up and like made bigger. They just used the Mark 1 suit.
Right.
Because they know it works with the arc.
Because he had the right parts. Mm-hmm.
Rhodey gets there and finds Tony on the ground. But he's got the arc in, so he's trying to recover. Because, again, he was having a heart attack, and this arc reactor is not as powerful as the other.
Exactly. Right.
He tells them that, like, they're going to go arrest Obadiah. They've got 5 agents with them. And he's like, that's not going to be enough. And we see Coulson and company get to Stark Industries. And Coulson and Potts go to the arc reactor, but they need to blast this door down. So you get a little blasting of the door.
Yes.
Stane
I do like that Coulson, they all turn around and she's like covering her ears, and then Coulson goes, no, I should brace too. And he just like goes into himself. He crosses his arms so he doesn't look too like, I don't really like this.
Yeah. Which is a pretty good understanding of the Coulson character for it being just like this little bit part that Greg Clark is playing at this point. It's Stane, right? Yeah. Stane hops into the Ironmonger. I was like, have I been calling him Crandall this whole time? Stane hops into the Ironmonger suit. Okay, Obi, what is the end game here? What do you think you're gonna do if you get away with this? Or does he realize he's fucked at this point because...
I think it may be more that part.
Because, like, what is your end game? What do you think you're going to get away with? Or does he think he's going to, like, fly to Russia and, like, sell them the Iron
maybe
Man?
A part of it. Maybe he is going back there. I don't know.
Because I was just thinking, like, you're not going to get a contract with the government, at least prior to 2024. So, like, what is your thought here?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I think it is kind of like I just gotta get away now, or I have to kill everybody who knows.
I'm gonna kill everybody. I'm going on a goddamn suicide mission. Everybody hop on board. Obadiah Stane's gonna kill you. Tony gets in the armor and blasts off, and Rhodey's like, is there anything I can do? And he's like, just keep the skies clear. Because he knows, like, he's gonna fight him in the air.
Right.
And this is when we get the infamous...
Next time, baby.
Next time.
It's supposed to be a hint for War Machine, but of course the hilarious thing about that, Terrence Howard was let go from the Marvel franchise.
Yeah.
He wanted more money than Robert Downey Jr. to come back.
He
for
did.
Iron Man 2.
Right. I know. I've heard this.
So, no.
Right.
They head to the Ironmonger room, which has, like, water and this weird lighting effect in it. Was it the arc reactor? Was that what was making this lighting effect?
It has to be. It has to be because of how, like, the light and, like, the whooshing of it going through. That has to be.
Like, I get it. I get what they're going for. It's a very Alien-esque scene. But it's like, why is the lighting like that?
And I think it is just the reactor because it is, like, open. You can see the light in it. So it makes sense.
I also think, and we'll find this out when we do The Incredible Hulk, it does feel like an Incredible Hulk.
It does, 100%. The Hulk could be walking down one of these hallways, areas, alleyways, things. Yes.
Like, I feel like this is the scene in the factory from The Incredible
It
Hulk,
is.
where he's, like, hiding in the shadows.
Exactly. Yes. They do it multiple times. They do it in the actual Hulk movie, and then they also do it again with Hulk and Natasha.
Oh, you're right. They do it in Avengers as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. I mean, you could either say that that's creatively bankrupt, or you could say it's callbacks and it's actually reflections and smart. I don't know which way you want to go with that, but you can probably make an argument either way.
Right.
The old iron armor is there, and Potts is like, oh, I thought it would be bigger. And it comes out at her from the chains like he was hiding. Because, like, how the hell was he hiding like that? But it's, again, kind of Hulkish. It's kind of ridiculous, but it works enough. I've always liked the score here.
Yes.
Chases Pepper out of the room. The Mark 1 reactor is not going to hold up with flight, is what Jarvis tells Tony. Like, it wasn't built.
It wasn't made for that
flight.
Right.
So it's operating on like 30% capacity. Like, it's not good for this fight. Stane breaks through the floor and robotically tells Pepper her services are no longer required. Iron Man shows up and they smash each other into the highway. They cause some wrecks, and the fight begins between Iron Man and Iron Monger. Rachel, I know one of the criticisms that people levy on a lot of the Marvel movies, especially the MCU ones, is that the the hero always fights a villain that's like his opposite, so it always ends up being like the same fight, which is true, but it's also, and I'm not going to just say, well, it's from the comics and like let that be a wash away for that criticism. It is from the comics, but it's part of the thematic devices for a lot of these characters where the hero is almost fighting a reflection of himself as what if I was the bad guy. It is supposed to be thematic. That's why the Red Skull is Captain America. It's why Iron
it makes
Monger
sense. It makes a lot of sense.
It's either that or it'll be the opposite, where it's like Tony is the tech guy and the Mandarin is all mysticism. Like they either do one or that, or Baron Modo and
they tend
Dr.
to go
Strange.
more extremes, right?
Yeah, not every hero does that, but you can't all be Batman.
And not every villain is going to do that either. Like there's
but
some villains or bad
guys. And
yes, usually they're like the main
nemesis,
bad guys,
not arch rival, arch nemesis. But, like, they can't all have Spider-Man and Batman's rogues gallery. And even those two, each villain is a component of the hero's personality in some form or fashion. So
yeah, it makes sense. There's always that theme, that connection that you have with the bad guy that you're fighting.
They said that they had a problem with this fight. The problem they were having was they were just like, it's like two robots fighting each other. We're losing the emotion. We're losing the climax because it just feels like a meaningless fight. And they came up with the idea to bring the ice back and have that be like Tony, have everything that Tony's learned come back in the fight. The flares, the ice, like everything that he's like done through the mechanism to be able to shoot at the targets, like all of that comes back from earlier in the movie. So
he's being smart about it. He's actually using what he's learned to fight Stane.
Stane lifts a car with a mom and kids in it and goes to smash Iron Man and calls them collateral damage, Tony. He hits Stane with the chest reactor. He puts all of the energy in the chest. Tony tries to put the car down, but she floors it and ruins her car a bit more. But you know what? I don't blame her, though, okay?
No, I don't either.
A robot lifted me up, and then another robot is now holding me.
Yes.
Get the fuck out of there.
I think I'd have similar reactions.
If I saw anything from the Marvel Universe in it, on literally any given day, there's a good chance that I'm going to take a lot of pills. Because, like, what now?
Well, first off, I wouldn't live in the city.
No.
So I would just watch it on the news.
Living on that
go,
farm with
what
Hawkeye.
What the hell is happening? Yeah, exactly.
Cannot live in the city. I don't understand how any of these people live in New York or Los Angeles, for that matter. Like, what are you doing? How could you possibly live in those cities?
It's crazy.
The insurance alone to live in New York in the Marvel Universe bankrupt you.
Outrageously expensive.
Stane murders a motorcyclist as they battle in the street, and he says, "For 30 years I've been holding you up. I brought this company from nothing." Because he's saying it with this voice.
Because he's grunting and everything.
Did you notice the Roxxon Corporation building in the background, Rachel?
No.
Yeah, thought that was fun. It's a conglomerate in the Marvel Universe, like just kind of like a amoral business that's like an oil tycoon type thing.
Oh, really? Okay, I didn't recognize that. I didn't know that.
I think Liz Allen actually takes over it at one point.
Interesting.
Comics get weird.
Comics always get weird.
I think at some point it becomes a Thor villain primarily, and the CEO is a Minotaur in disguise. Those comics are actually pretty good.
Wait, say that again?
The CEO of Roxxon becomes a Minotaur and fights Thor.
Interesting.
Yeah. They're pretty good. I actually kind of like them.
No, I like it.
I thought, again, what are you doing, Obi? You've just lost your mind. It just felt a little unplanned out of nowhere. Like, what is
all of this was unplanned.
Tony goes into the atmosphere, and then Stane follows him. And Iron Man says, "We're going to go for max altitude here." Tony's power is diminishing, but the ice is building up on the Iron Monger suit. And eventually the icing problem causes the power to go out. Monger falls to his death but there's no power in the Iron Man armor, so he kind of skips to the ground. It's like, poof, poof,
Yes.
like, poofing, like whatever. He stumbles onto the roof, and he's like, I gotta get out of this suit because I need to go hook up to some sort of power supply before the arc reactor dies.
Yes.
He's got to plug his USB cord in.
I gotta get it in a charger.
I've only got 5%.
Where's a
left on the arc
charger?
reactor. I need to find a damn charger. You can never find a fucking charger. For Stark Industries, there's no charger sitting around. He tries to get out of the suit, but the Ironmonger's back. But by this time, he's pulled the glove off of one of the hands, and he goes to repulse her, and there's no glove on the hand.
Yes.
Monger bear hugs him. He can't get anything to work, so he deploys the flares.
Mm-hmm.
That gives him a second, and then Tony just kind of hides behind a wall and calls Pepper and tells her to overload the reactor. Wait, start the reactor. And it'll fry the suits, but she's like, it'll kill you. And he's like, well, what, we have to try something here.
Right.
She goes in.
I mean, the thing is, it's like, it's for Ironmonger, it's just the suit. For Tony, it's his heart.
Right.
That's the problem.
Yes. He disrupts the mechanics to, like, shoot the aiming mechanism on the Ironmonger suit. The helmet falls off of Tony, and Stane opens up his suit so that he can talk to Tony as Obadiah, and smashes, which is probably what killed him, and smashes the helmet, throws it at Tony, symbolically. You tried to get rid of weapons, and you made it the best one ever. Tony's hanging on the glass roof after Obi blasts it all. He goes to blast him. Hold still, you little prick. The Monger suit gets overloaded by this. It causes this big Zool-esque bolt in the sky.
It does. It really does.
I did not remember that. Like, you know how that there's a criticism of superhero movies from the early teens? There's always a lightning bolt in the sky, and it's like, oh, I guess even in Iron Man there was a... It wasn't part of the plot, but there was a lightning bolt that got shot into the sky.
That's right.
Obadiah falls to his death because the reactor overwhelmed the suit, and it probably like zapped his heart and like fried him or something.
I'm pretty sure he was just completely electrocuted by this.
Well, then he falls into maybe it just knocked him out, but he falls into the reactor, and the reactor literally blows up.
Yeah, so that probably is what killed him.
Yeah. Tony is just outside the zone, and his arc reactor kind of flickers. Even that noise is kind of nice, like that they have on
just
that.
a little flickery sound. Mm-hmm.
We hear Pepper shout out for him, and it fades to black. Rachel gets a fade to black. We haven't had one in a while. Now they're like giving a press conference because like
right.
the arc reactor blew up at Stark Industries. Like
that's a huge thing. That's a problem.
Probably bad PR for the arc reactor.
Oh, absolutely.
Some unconfirmed
but it was
reports.
forced. It wasn't like it was just going to do that. They made it happen.
The way that they talk about it, they're like, I guess they could say like something like try to attack it, or because like they saw the robots fighting. Unconfirmed report about a prototype that caused damage to the arc reactor is kind of what they're saying.
Right.
A newspaper has named him Iron Man, even though they keep talking about Iron Soldiers and stuff throughout the story, but fine. Because it's actually really a gold titanium alloy, but the Iron Man, that's a good visual imagery.
Yeah.
Coulson is there, and he tells Tony that the alibi that they've given him, he was on his yacht with like 50 guests. And they have sworn
and they all have
statements.
alibis. Yep.
And he's like, really? People are going to buy this? That he's my bodyguard? That sounds fucking stupid. Like, I'm glad that they got rid of that in the comic books. I'm glad that everyone just knows that Tony Stark is Iron Man in the comics.
Yeah.
Because I don't like that. Stanley thought that was very clever, but that's back in the day when you needed to have a secret identity because that was just how superheroes were. It's like...
Most still do. There's only a few that don't. Right.
Coulson tells him, just read it word for word. Like, we know what we're doing. We do
He's
this
like,
all the time.
we've done this before. Yep.
He asked, what about Stane? And they're like, well, Stane was on vacation, and those little private jets crash more often than not.
Yep.
I hope you're not listening to this on a private jet.
I know.
When I just said that to you, but, She thanks Coulson. Pepper does.
You'll be hearing from us.
From the strategic homeland and...
Just call us S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh! In 2008. And Tony tells Pepper, like, if I were Iron Man, I would have a girlfriend who would know my true identity and all this stuff. asking Pepper out, and he's like, tell me you don't, think about that night. And she's like, that night that you left me on the roof?
That we danced, and we were on the roof, we almost kissed, or like whatever, and then you left me there alone? Just never came back?
I forgot that he left her on the roof by that point.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a fun callback, because like as an audience, you kind of forget that
because he got distracted.
He left her there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Tony comes out to say his statement. Christine is in the front row. So he starts to talk, and Christine stops him and says, are we really supposed to believe that he's your bodyguard? Like, this is claptrap. And he goes, well, it's one thing to question the official story. It's a whole nother to insinuate that I'm some sort of superhero or something. She's like, I did not call you a superhero. And he's like, oh, well, that would be outlandish and fantastic. He does a little bit of Jeff Goldbluming here.
It was just a little bit.
This is just Robert Downey Jr. just talking about himself when they asked him to be Iron Man. I'm not the hero type, with all these lists of personal defects, largely public. Character flaws.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've read and seen videos, and Kevin Feige says this, that Robert Downey Jr. improvised this line.
I've heard that so much, yes. What the hell were they gonna do otherwise?
That's what I think too. What the hell was the ending gonna be then? I'm wondering if the way that we think of improvise is different than what they mean when they say that. I wonder if there was a different ending.
The way he was saying it? Okay.
And when they were still in script mode, doing table reads, if Robert Downey Jr. said, what if I revealed myself as
What if
Iron
I just said it? What if I said I'm Iron Man?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with you. What the hell was the ending?
It just doesn't make any sense.
It makes no sense.
I guess it would be that he does the press conference and then it's like, that's it. And then like he has a secret identity of being Iron Man.
I guess it could be like a Spider-Man end, because all Spider-Man movies end with him web slinging. Like it could just be him like flying
away. Right.
I guess.
Him saying like, oh no. It's just my bodyguard. And then he leaves and he flies off as Iron Man.
Yeah, and flies off as Iron Man, which would have been a very superhero movie ending for the odds.
It really would have.
So maybe that
just felt
something like that.
Way better.
This, however, is one of the best superhero endings of all time.
Absolutely.
Because he says, the truth is, and he looks up from the card and just goes, and he can't resist it. That's what makes it so good too. Is that in reality he shouldn't do this, but it's fucking Tony Stark and he's an egomaniac and he's like, fuck it.
I am Iron Man.
Great ending. The press going nuts and Christine not even standing up, just like, fucking of course. That's a good touch. That is a good touch. That she doesn't react to it the way that the rest of the press does. That's the end of Iron Man. The credits are all... Fucking great. The specs are shown. That is the end of... Oh, wait a second, Rachel. Wait a second. Okay, the credits are over, and now we've got another ending scene here.
That's right.
Now, kids at home.
This isn't the first time they did it.
No?
No. Let me check the date. Yeah. It's not the first time they did it.
Okay, explain.
Pirates of the Caribbean. There is an end credit scene. Yes, there is. And it's the monkey taking the coin.
Okay, I guess the monkey taking the coin does come back.
It does, because it's undead
in like
in the
a
second one.
Significant way.
Unless
you use the theory that the monkey had something to do with being able to bring back Barbossa, which is possible.
But anyways, it's not the first time they did it.
I'm glad that you're pointing that out. But kids,
go on, because I know what you want to go and tell everybody, so it's okay.
This wasn't a regular occurrence.
No,
you would not think.
You don't have to go, is there an end credits? Do I have to check if there's a credit?
Because now every fucking movie you have to go, do I have to sit through the end credits?
Right.
Not even just Marvel movies, not just superhero movies, but every movie.
Everything.
You go to fucking A24 drama and you're like, do I have to sit through credits? This is a trend completely started by Marvel, even though, as Rachel has eloquently pointed out, Pirates did it, Ferris Bueller did it, Like
That's also true.
There are movies that have done it in the past.
Yes.
I mean, even Deadpool makes fun of that, doing the Ferris Bueller ending and kind of making fun of the fact that like Marvel didn't start this.
Go
Ferris
home.
Bueller did. I'm sure that there's movies from the fucking 50s and 60s that did this, but it was not a you need to see this like a twist after the credits.
Right.
Now, Roger Ebert would tell you when the credits hit, your movie's over. And you're not allowed to do anything after that, which is true. I agree with him on that, and I don't think that this is continuing the movie. It's just setting it up for the universe. It doesn't take anything away from the movie.
No,
and I think
absolutely not.
That makes it okay. But they didn't do this on a frequent basis. When my friends and I, and potentially Rachel, went to the movies, we were told by our other friend that had already seen it, stay through the credits. And he was like, there's something afterward. You have to stay through the credits.
Mm-hmm.
So we sat through the credits. Rachel, please describe what happens at the end of the credits for Iron Man.
So it fades in, and Tony's
Fade
just
in.
fade
Malibu
in from
mansion.
black. Tony's getting home. Tony's apprehensive. He kind of like walks in and he sees a shadow. There's like a figure. A man is in his house at the window, and he goes, "I am Iron Man. You think you're the only superhero in the world? You've entered this bigger universe."
So they use the word
You just don't even know it.
As much as I hate this brand synergy, they did say it.
And Tony goes, "Who the hell are you?" And he goes, "Nick Fury, director of S.H.I.E.L.D."
And it's Samuel L. Jackson, who they made the Ultimate Universe. Samuel L. Jackson
Yes.
is the design of Nick
Oh,
Fury.
it's so great. But the biggest line here is he says, "I'm here to talk to you about the Avengers Initiative." It's very exciting.
I wasn't completely clued in on like all of those like websites that would have been talking about movie news, because allegedly, like at one of the Comic-Cons before Iron Man came out, they were talking about how we could do a Captain America movie and a Thor, because like they were gonna sell Captain America and Thor to another studio, and the Mark Maisel, which was the guy that I was talking about in the first part of the show,
Right.
told them, don't sell those. Keep them. We're gonna do stuff. So he's the one that kind of was the brainchild of this. But they said we were gonna make a Thor movie and a Captain America movie and a Nick Fury movie. Kevin Feige is there
Fury
saying
movie.
like, yes, I know all of those elements. You know, who knows if it's successful? The Avengers could be a thing. So they had mentioned it there, but I don't think that there were rumblings of this.
I don't
like,
think there was.
for the regular people that weren't like
No.
glued in online. I remember him saying that. My friends' takeaway, because they don't know what the Avengers are, was just, oh shit, Samuel L. Jackson's gonna be in these. That's
in the
fun.
movies. That's
like
cool.
It was more about Samuel L. Jackson, and I sat there going, how the fuck are they gonna pull that off?
Right.
Because I was thinking of House of M and Civil War and
how
Ultimate
crazy
Alliance.
that gets.
And in particular, Ultimate Alliance, I was thinking, okay, I can see how they're going to do Cap. Maybe they can do Hulk. Thor? Because those are the four guys that I thought in my head.
Right,
Look, if you're doing the
exactly.
Avengers, those are the four you're doing. And if you're not doing those four, don't fucking call it the Avengers. So,
Right.
which I still say in 2025. Regardless, that was my takeaway. It's a really interesting end to set up the rest of what
Everything.
everyone does from now on.
Yes.
That is the end of Iron Man, directed by John Favreau. Iron Man.
Iron Man.
Rachel, we have come to that time of the show. Come to that time of the main event.
Yes.
Volume 5. It's been a long volume, folks. I don't even want to tell you how long we've been recording this damn thing. Does Iron Man have shelf life?
Do you want me to go first, or do you want to go
I
first?
said Rachel. Does Iron Man have shelf
Oh,
life?
I'm sorry. I thought you just said it like out loud. I didn't think
Oh.
you said my name. Okay. Well.
What?
Well.
Why? Well, we did WrestleMania. I had to bring that in. You know. Hawk was there.
For me, and for everything that we've been like talking about this entire time, the actors that they've chosen, the the way everything looks, even like the CGI and the suit and all of that, like being put together and everything like that. The story itself and getting to see the small arc that Tony goes through from the beginning to the end of this movie by itself, there's a lot. There's a lot going on. There's a lot that it does very, very well. And for me, that gives it shelf life. It's a very rewatchable movie, and you can go back and you can watch it and you can enjoy it. And it always sets up for a crazy, like, everything else that comes with it. I feel like I didn't say that very eloquently.
No, I always think of the most eloquent way I'm going to put these things in the shower, and then I'm like, I need to bring in some sort of pad that won't get wet that I can write all this shit down. That's where I always think of my shelf life verdicts and want to espouse thematically, and I can
I'll have to get
it.
you a shower tablet so you can type on it.
Yeah, I truly do. Like, that's where I always think, like, what am I going to say? And then I think about it, and then I forget half of it when it comes time to the recording. Mm-hmm. Of course it has shelf life. There wasn't a question about it having shelf life for me walking into it. I pre-watched.
Not at all.
I pre-watched, to use a film junk podcast phrase, thinking it was going to have shelf life. I could have been wrong. Like, I could have rewatched this and been like, no, it doesn't. You mentioned, Rachel, offline that you watched this like 6 months ago or a year ago. I think I did too. It is very rewatchable, and I actually think that at this point, after everything that's happened, after Marvel was at the highest of highs and could do no wrong, and now it's got so much backlash, and there's been a million glut of superhero and comic related things, I actually think at this point it's underrated.
Yes.
I think it's an underrated movie at this point.
I could see that. I could see a lot of people not coming back to this one specifically. Like, they just they gloss over it. They don't think about it. Mm-hmm. It's
contained. It has character. It has some action. Some of the action is not great. The third act action isn't great between Ironmonger and Iron Man, but the Gulmira scene is good. The first two acts of this action is good.
All like the fighting scenes there are great. Mm-hmm.
It gives these characters a different tone. It knows when to strike the right chord and the right balance of humor and seriousness.
Yes, huge to me. That's a huge thing for me.
It's just a fucking solid movie. Mm-hmm. It's so solid. It deserves the accolades. It deserves to be the thing that kicked off. Even Batman Begins is in 2005, but it kicked off the last 2 decades of this.
Yes.
And you understand, and even though the Iron Man love gets tiresome a little bit in the Infinity Saga, it's earned here, definitely.
Yes.
So it absolutely has shelf life. I would probably call this one of my top shelf items. It's probably one of my favorites.
I love this movie.
Superhero movies.
I could probably say that, because I do love this movie. It is probably one of my favorite Marvel superhero movies. Yes.
Yeah. It's really good. It's really good. It is. It's really underrated.
No, it is.
You can
I
really
agree.
Rewatch it. It's really great. So yes, Iron Man, directed by John Favreau from 2008. There's really nothing else to say about it. I know that we do the walkthroughs and they take 3.5 hours, and then we do the verdict and it's only like 5 minutes. But I think a lot of time,
but you get to hear it all.
Our verdict is built up through the walkthrough, and the verdict is really just the conclusion. Cite podcasts within on why we think that this one is great. It really is, and I really, really, really hope that they can get back to doing them a lot more like this movie.
I agree. I kind of hope they kind of look back and go, that's what we did right. That's what we should come back to.
Yep.
That would be perfect.
With that in mind, Rachel, are we doing more of the MCU? Will we continue the Marvel Cinematic Universe journey in shelf life?
I don't see how we couldn't.
All right. Next up on the list, then, Chapter 2 of the Infinity Saga is The Incredible Hulk. So we will see when we do that one. But in the meantime, Rachel, that was Iron Man from 2008, directed by John Favreau. Cross it off the list. It is on the shelf, next to a bottle of booze, probably.
Straight on the top shelf, next to his helmet, And a
liquor.
bottle of booze.
Yeah.
I like it.
All right, Rachel, we have come to the end of volume 5. The largest
Crazy.
volume that we have done to date.
Oh my god, it's been forever.
We have learned a lot. We have done a lot. We've gone through 1930s Egypt, 1980s California, a brand new universe that takes over the planet, spies, Indiana in the 1940s, very small stories, time traveled
Yes.
all over the place.
Small stories, huge stories.
Went to Indiana a couple times, kind of strange, but we did. What am I missing? I mean, we went everywhere. We learned that Santa is real.
Of course he's real.
The rapture happened.
The rapture did happen. That was kind of insane.
One of us turned heel, the other one turned face. That was fun. I'll let the audience decide which one was
which one was that?
Yeah.
Oh, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Streets of
Oh,
Rage,
you're right. We went down to the sewers. We fought
WrestleMania.
people in the sewers.
Shrek, Long
Far,
Halloween.
far away. We solved a murder. That was fun.
That was fun.
It's been a very long journey for Volume 5, which means that Rachel and I are tired. We're going to have to take a break.
I'm exhausted.
We're going to get out of the bunker because we thank you all for listening to us, of course. Although Rachel and I are very much like Red Letter Media, have nothing but to Stane for our audience. But, I mean, we have fun doing this. We're going to keep doing this.
Absolutely.
We'll be gone for a little while. We'll have Munch Madness coming up.
Don't worry.
We'll have reruns, and then Volume 6 will start. Won't be as big as this one, probably. But, Rachel, what do you think? We'll do a big one again?
I think we'll have a big one.
At some
We'll have
point.
some big themes, I think, in the next couple. So they'll be
you never
fun.
know. I was going to wax poetic about why we do this and the nature of why we do this podcast as I was speaking and thinking about it in the shower. We don't know what the future holds or how anything was going to play out. And we know that these stories and this podcast itself are stupid little things that we're doing to, one, entertain ourselves, first and foremost.
Yes,
And
very
entertain
true.
anybody that wants to enjoy this.
And to have something fun to do together.
We're not going to change the way that we do this just because we know that it could be more marketable to maybe cut this thing down by a couple hours or something like that. Because this is not us. And that's why we do these. It's not just to make money, not me and Rachel, but the people that are making these things. Unless. But my point is that we enjoy retelling these stories, interpreting these stories, and that's why Shelf Life exists. And that's why we break these things down, because it's not supposed to just be a reflection on what made the most money or what we can learn about society, but what we can learn about ourselves, what we can do better, and what we can do for each other better. So as we take our break, and as we enter uncertain times in the world,
I think it's the second time I've done that.
just remember, because these stories are supposed to be mythology,
Yes. Yes.
now you can go out in the real world and do better. Just like Rachel and I will try to do every
Always.
time we lift up these microphones and try to come up with what the meaning of everything is. Even if it's garbage shit.
Yes.
Somebody thought that there was a reason to tell it beyond just it will make money. But until next time, I have to go take a shower.
There's actually a couple things I want to do.
Oh,
First, I would like an American cheeseburger.
okay.
Second, no, that's not what I was going to say. You don't get to know now. Secret. I will do some secret things second. You're going to take a shower.
Decode it. Yeah. I'm gonna go take a shower. But we'll be back. Because as always, I've been Kevin.
And I'm Rachel.
And this has been Volume 5 of Shelf Life!
Excelsior!
Okay, this is take 2, fake sponsor recording for Volume 5. Here we go. That's weird. Rachel calling now. Rachel? Is that you? Hello?
I've been Kevin. You think that you've made a lot of progress with your little podcast. Your journey is only expanding to a whole new universe.
Is this a bit? Who is this?
Just call me a listener. We need your help in the next part of your journey. We're taking you on a side mission.
Okay. Don't know who this is, but well, we were gearing up for Volume 6. We've just started the MCU. The 50th subject is coming up.
We don't need you for the whole volume. But this summer will be a summer of spies.